defense was the story early in the Giants' 3-2 win Friday. Howard Johnson thrown out at home in a scoreless tie. But then Matt Williams crushed this Frank Viola pitch, giving the Giants a 3-run lead. Finally, Steve Bedrosian came on to get the save, his first since May. Yesterday, it was Williams again. His 24th home run, this time against David Cone. But Cone was otherwise brilliant. He struck out a career-high 13, including Kevin Mitchell twice, en route to a 9-2 complete game victory. Now, it's Game 3. This is Candlestick Park in San Francisco. A beautiful night for a ball game. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, the Mets and the Giants. The New York Mets in the National League's Eastern Division in quite a race with the Pirates. The Pirates won again today. The Mets need to win to draw back to within 2 games of first. Meanwhile, over in the West, the Reds keep losing. The Giants need a victory just to get back to within 6.5. Hello, everyone. John Miller along with Joe Morgan. 2 ball clubs in the pennant race. 2 ball clubs chasing the leaders right now. 2 ball clubs who badly need to win this ball game. Dwight Gooden is on the mound for the Mets, the ace. He's won 9 of the last 10. And, of course, everybody knows about Dr. K. For the Giants, a lesser-known quantity. The right-hander Mike LaCosse on the mound. Joe, tell us about LaCosse.
Well, John, Mike LaCosse has been talked about in a lot of different veins. But I think Roger Craig puts it best. He has a pitcher's mentality. Mike LaCosse says, give me the ball, give me a hitter, and let's go. He is a battler, so he's the guy that Roger wants on the mound in these types of situations.
Now, Dwight Gooden going for the Mets, and he's won 9 of 10. You may remember back in 1984 when he pitched here in the All-Star game in the twilight, how tough he was. Then he struck out the side, and he's pitching in the twilight tonight.
Well, it depends on how tough the shadows are, but Dwight Gooden, you don't know which one you're going to get. He's a high fastball pitcher. He strikes out a lot of guys. When he doesn't have his good high fastball, he's been using a sinker, so he's been equally successful. So we'll just have to wait and see which one we get, the strikeout artist or the ground ball pitcher.
Will Clark is back in the lineup for the Giants. He missed a couple of games with gastroenteritis. Matt Williams is in there. Kevin Mitchell, all the big sluggers. Strawberry, Jeffries, McReynolds for the Mets. It's the Giants and the Mets on Sunday Night Baseball with Dwight Gooden going for number 13 for New York against the veteran Mike LaCosse. John Miller and Joe Morgan back at Candlestick Park and a beautiful afternoon for baseball. And now the Sears diehard starting lineup for the visiting New York Mets. It'll be Darrell Boston in center field hitting leadoff. Dave Magadan at third base. Greg Jeffries at second base. Darryl Strawberry hits cleanup in right field. Howard Johnson is the shortstop. It'll be Kevin McReynolds in left field batting sixth. Kelvin Torvey is at first base. Mackie Sasser hits 8th, the catcher. And on the mound will be Dwight Gooden.
And the Giants defense will have Mike Kingery in right field. Brett Butler is the center fielder. Kevin Mitchell is in left. Matt Williams is the third baseman. Jose Uribe plays short. Robbie Thompson at second. Will Clark will be back in the lineup today at first base. Terry Kennedy behind the plate. And on the mound, right-hander Mike LaCosse.
LaCosse just recently activated from the disabled list and pitched well the other night in Philadelphia.
Mike throws a fastball, a straight fastball. He throws a sinking fastball. He throws a split-fingered fastball. And he throws an overhand curveball. He does not throw a slider, but he can make the split finger move left or right. So he said we may see something that looks like a breaking ball, but it's really the split-fingered fastball. If you got all that, you're better than I am, because as he was explaining it to me, I said, okay, Mike.
Well, if you see it, just point it out.
Right.
So LaCosse taking his warm-ups now. The Giants have adjusted their rotation a little bit. They also moved Trevor Wilson out of the rotation after he got clobbered here yesterday. And they will be putting another veteran in the rotation in his place, another guy who just came off the disabled list, Kelly Downs. There's the flags out in center field, and as you can see, as is usually the case with Candlestick, particularly in the late afternoon, the wind is blowing very hard. 63 degrees, very clear, and there is absolutely no chance of rain. Hey, this is August in California after all. The umpiring alignment, as you see Roger Craig head back to the dugout, it will be Joe West back at the plate and Ron Barnes at first base. El Cerrito, that's in the East Bay. in this area. Randy Marsh is at second base, and the 25-year veteran Harry Wendelstedt is at third base. The Giants just coming home from a road trip in which they lost 8 times in 10 ball games. It could have been a catastrophic road trip because 3 of those losses came in Cincinnati. But since they came home, while they've split a pair here with the New York Mets, the Reds have been beaten 4 straight times at home over the weekend by the Pittsburgh Pirates, which on the other hand brings us the dilemma of the New York Mets, who have been so hot, who came surging back, but now they've got to chase those Pirates who refuse to yield. And there's a look at the Giants season. The Giants, of course, at the end of May, the 1st of June, were 14.5 out. And they've made a couple of runs at the Reds beginning at that time. They're going to have to make another one now. Here is Darrell Boston, ready to lead it off for the Mets. Boston acquired during the season. He was released by the Chicago White Sox. And Boston has done extremely well since coming to New York. He's been a very important figure in this ball club, hitting .302. He's got 8 home runs and 31 runs batted in. So here we go. Mike Lacoste, the tall right-hander. That's a strike on the outside.
One thing you should see from Mike Lacoste is a lot of first pitch fastballs. He tries to get ahead in the count and make the hitter hit the type of pitch he wants after he gets ahead in the count.
That's outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Veteran Terry Kennedy behind the plate. Boston will be followed by Magadan and Jeffries. That's foul, and the count is 1-2. Now the Mets, after this series, are heading south. They'll stay in California. They got 3 ball games in San Diego beginning tomorrow night. And then Thursday, they begin a 4-game series in Los Angeles against the Dodgers, who've been playing awfully well. Eddie Murray, Cal Daniels, Hubie Brooks, all of those guys have been hot lately. So this is a tough trip for the Mets. They have lost 2/3 of their games out here on the coast in the last 2 seasons. They got swept here in Candlestick in their first visit. That's a fly ball that will go foul and back out of play down the left field line. So the count is 1-2. When the Mets first came out here back in May, it was during a series in San Francisco in which the Mets were swept that Frank Cashin came to the determination that he had to make a change. Davey Johnson wasn't fired at that point, but Cashin had pretty well decided that that would be the move he'd have to make. So Dave Magadan, before they came out here this time, said, hey, this is going to be perhaps a make-or-break West Coast trip for us.
Well, I think the interesting thing about the Mets is when Bud Harrelson took over, they played very well over a stretch of about 30 games. But now they're playing like they did before he took over. They're playing now like they did when Davey Johnson was around. So they've been an up-and-down ball club.
Shortstop Uribe. And Boston is retired. There's one away. Chance of that fine double play combination. Uribe at short and Robbie Thompson at second. The Mets also a little bit lacking right now up the middle with Kevin Elster being out. A key member of that defense. A defense which even with him in there is not always the strongest.
Well, that's true. I think he is the anchor of their defense up the middle, but you can get away with it for short periods of time. And I don't really think that his absence has hurt the Mets so much as you might think lately.
Here's Dave Magadan, and he takes ball 1. Magadan is hitting .330. He is 3rd in the league with that .330 batting average, back of Dykstra and Willie McGee. Just starting, 1 out and nobody on. Greg Jeffries is on deck. And that misses outside. 2 balls and no strikes. The Mets, of course, one of the first changes made by manager Bud Harrelson was to put Magadan in at first base in place of Mike Marshall. And Magadan went nuts with the bat at that time. He got red hot. That's a foul straight back. But lately it's been a crazy situation because Kevin Elster went on the disabled list, and then Keith Miller, who was the #1 reserve at 3 positions, went in at shortstop, but then he went on the disabled list. In the 6th inning of the first game, he got injured. So that put Howard Johnson at short from 3rd base, and Magadan went from first over to 3rd base. At which point they began platooning over at first base. There's a base hit from Magadan. So he's aboard as the big hitters come up.
Magadan has always been a good hitter, even though he's never been a regular before. Even when he would go in for spot duty, he could always swing the bat well. He puts the ball in play. He doesn't swing a lot of bad pitches. Thus, he gets a lot of good pitches to hit.
And again, lately, he continues to hit while playing third base when they put him over there. He was asked about it. He says, well, it's all right with me if my teammates don't mind. He hadn't even taken any ground balls at third for 2 months. Here's Jeffries, and he takes ball 1. So in other words, the Mets are still having to juggle a little bit, which can happen in a pennant race sometime.
Most of the teams are juggling. The Giants are juggling more than the Mets are, because the Giants are juggling a very important piece, and that is their pitching staff.
Greg Jeffries, he's just having a fine season, hitting .305. Pop fly, Uribe out, Mitchell in. Mitchell's got it for the second out. Magadan will go back to first. 2 down. That'll bring up Darryl Strawberry. Now, Lacoste just came in off the disabled list the other day. 5 days ago in Philadelphia. He went 6 1/3 innings and gave up 2 runs and 4 hits, although he got no decision. He hurt his left knee against Pittsburgh back in late April. He had surgery on the knee May the 9th and was on the disabled list from that time until he made the start just the other night. Missed most of the season. Strawberry fouls it back. Now Darryl is hitting only .216 since the All-Star break.
Well, the Mets mirror Strawberry's performance. He was hitting well before the All-Star break. They played very well. Now, since the All-Star break, he has not hit well, and they have not played well. So I don't think there's any doubt that so goes the Darryl Strawberry, so go the Mets. I don't think anybody can dispute that after watching him so far this season.
1 strike to count. And that's a ball. Looks like a pretty good crowd at Candlestick this afternoon. Rather unusual starting time for a ball game out here. But you get a look at the old ballpark, which was open for business in 1960. The Giants' 3rd season in San Francisco. Strawberry through the middle. Nope, not quite through. Uribe's got it, forcing Magadan, and that ends the inning. Strawberry hits into the force play. The Mets get 1 hit. They leave 1. No runs. Giants are coming up. No score. Back at Candlestick Park, looking out at the San Francisco Bay there. Now the Sears diehard starting lineup for the hometown ball club, the Giants. It'll be Brett Butler leading it off in center field. Mike Kingery in right field. Will Clark back in the lineup at first base. Kevin Mitchell in left field. Matt Williams, who's homered in the first 2 games of the series, at third. Terry Kennedy bats 6th, the catcher. Robbie Thompson is at second base. Jose Uribe is at shortstop, batting 8th, and Mike Lacoste is on the mound.
And the Mets defense will have Darryl Strawberry in right field. Darryl Boston is in center. Kevin McReynolds is in left. Dave Magadan plays third. Howard Johnson is the shortstop. Greg Jeffries at second. Kelvin Torvey is at first base. And behind the plate, Mackie Sasser. And on the mound, Dr. K, Dwight Gooden.
Dr. K 12-6, but with a rather high earned run average. He had that 8-game winning streak, and he has won 9 of his last 10.
Well, I think the interesting thing there, you see 163 hits in 162 thirds innings. That is very unusual for Dwight Gooden. He does not allow more hits than innings pitched normally, but I think it's due to the fact that he's coming off of an injury last year. So I think at the beginning of the season, he wasn't completely sure that he could turn the ball loose. Now I think he feels a lot better. I think you will see a better ratio of hits to innings pitched in the next few ball games.
Gooden has not done well in the month of August as he gets ready to face the Giants leadoff man, and a fine leadoff man he is. Brett Butler hitting .290. No score as the Giants come to bat. That's ball 1. Butler, an excellent bunter, and in deference to that ability, you see third baseman Dave Magadan playing very shallow, and even over at first, Torvey is pulled in a little bit.
He has been successful in 7 of his last 10 bunt attempts.
And that's a strike on the outside, says Joe West. 1 ball, 1 strike. He has averaged 23 bunt hits a year going back to 1984. Butler's been in a slump of late. And so has Clark, so has Mitchell, and so has Williams. I mean, the Giants, the team, have been slumping. Hard curve from Gooden. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Giants 2-8 on that road trip. They've lost 9 of their last 12. They're just not hitting. That's one thing that's plagued them. Another breaking ball into the ground to Johnson. Howard throws out Butler. There is 1 away. Dwight Gooden, you see, most years he is very tough on the opponent's batting average. But here in 1990, 262.
Well, that's what is reflected by the 163 hits in 160 innings. It means that they're hitting the ball a lot more often than they did before. He has 150 strikeouts, which means that he is still striking out a lot of hitters.
Is Kingery. That's a foul ball. Right past Bill Fahey, the third base coach.
I think the one thing to look for in Dwight Gooden tonight is that he is trying to slow down his windup. He said he's been moving a little too fast toward the hitter. Now he's trying to slow his motion down.
And that's a ball. He said something interesting before the game. He likes the mound here because it has the feel of being too far away from home plate. He says that keeps him from a tendency to overthrow the ball. 2-1.
Well, there's a bird out there on the infield. Could be a distraction if you hit a ground ball in that direction.
Ballpark security may to take him to the police station, Joe.
John, back to what you were talking about, how it seems like the mound is far away here. All of your California ballparks have one thing in common. That is a lot of distance between home plate and the screen and behind the catcher.
3-1 pitch. Strawberry battling that sun, but he's got it. 2 down. Talking about the dimensions here, Candlestick.
It's 335 down both lines, 365 in the alleys, and 400 straight away, but there's a lot of room in foul territory, and that's what makes Dwight feel like he's so far away from the hitter, because there's so much room between he and the hitter.
They're very clear about this before games. They make an announcement saying all birds and other forms of wildlife must stay off the field at all times or be subject to a fine and/or imprisonment. Here's Will Clark, just back in the lineup. He got in as a pinch hitter yesterday and struck out against David Cone. Had some gastroenteritis, either from some bad food or maybe a virus. Curveball misses. Clark produced a lot of runs, got 76 RBI, but he's not hitting home runs, only 15.
Well, he's only hit 2 home runs in about his last 150 at-bats. That's his problem.
In fact, he's only got the 1 in his last 124 at-bats, which is the longest drought of his career. 2 balls, 1 strike to Will Clark. 2 down, nobody on, no score in the game. Clark and Gooden. And you see the home run totals descending for Clark. 3-1. Kevin Mitchell is on deck. Now, when you get into this part of the batting order, Clark, then Mitchell, then Williams, you're almost in trouble even without anybody on base. And he walks Will Clark. So at 2 down, Clark is at first, and that will bring up Kevin Mitchell. No score in the game. Mitchell hitting .299. He's got 26 home runs, 67 batted in, but he has not homered for a while. None of the big three have done a whole lot lately.
Well, Matt Williams is the only one that's hit for some power, but he hasn't been consistent batting average-wise. Will Clark has been very good batting average-wise, but no power. Kevin Mitchell has suffered in both areas.
That's foul back to the screen. Mitchell facing his former teammate. I asked him how he's doing against Gooden. He says, I'm not sure in the past, but I know I'm going to see a lot of gas tonight in the twilight.
The one good thing about facing a guy like Dwight Gooden, if you are Will Clark, Matt Williams, and Kevin Mitchell, you're not going to have to wait on the pitch. You can be aggressive. Sometimes that speeds your bats up, and that helps you as a hitter, especially if you've been struggling. He's going to come right after you.
Strike two. He just blew it by him.
Yeah,
0-2.
You'd rather have that when you're not swinging the bat well. You'd rather have a pitcher come right after you, so you have to be aggressive. You do not want a guy that's finessing you out there where you have to wait and see what's going to happen. This is just power against power, and that's the way you want it if you are a power hitter and if you're a good fastball hitter. Kevin Mitchell's a good fastball hitter, Will Clark's a good fastball hitter, and Matt Williams. So I don't think he's going to handle all three of these guys completely throughout the night.
The curveball a little bit high, apparently. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 2 down. Will Clark at first base. This threesome, particularly in the postseason last year, all did so well against the Cubs. They've all put together excellent seasons in 1990. That is to the shortstop, Howard Johnson. Well, Mitchell hits a liner, but right to Johnson, and the Giants strand 1. And the end of 1 full, the Mets nothing, the Giants nothing. We'll return to Candlestick Park this beautiful August night. Back at Candlestick Park, some ESPN Giants fans, Joe Morgan fans, and let me tell you, it's August, but it's not that warm out here. The pennant chase Tuesday night, of course, you saw. We'll have the Orioles at the Red Sox. Today, Toronto defeated Minnesota. Boston, back of Roger Clemens, he won his 18th, defeated California. And Baltimore, back of a pitcher just up from Double-A ball, defeated the Oakland Athletics in Baltimore 3-2. So the Red Sox and Jays tied at the top, and Baltimore 7 games out. It'll be Howard Johnson to lead it off. 19 homers and 70 batted in. Lacoste misses outside. There's no score in this ball game. Johnson in 15 at bats against Lacoste in his career has hit 2 home runs. Johnson's been struggling this year, but his RBI totals have been rising of late. Second baseman Robbie Thompson, plenty of time. Over to Clark for the out. There is 1 away. Robbie Thompson, very sure-handed second baseman of the Giants, excellent at turning the double play.
I think he and Jose Uribe turn the double play better than any combination in the National League. Dunston and Sandberg at Chicago are very, very good, but I don't think anyone turns it as quickly and as often as these 2 guys. They do not ever make a mistake. Very good double play combination.
Now Kevin McReynolds comes up, the powerful right-handed hitter. He's had kind of an off season. 14 homers, only 55 batted in. They usually look for him to give him 25 homers and around 90 runs batted in. 1 ball to no strikes. That's down the left field line, pretty deep, hooking into the corner, and foul. It was plenty deep enough to have been a home run had it been fair.
Well, he got out in front of it. It was a little sinker on the inside part of the plate, and he gets his hands out a little too quickly. See, the ball's on the inside. You see him come in to get it, shortens his arms, and just pulls it foul.
The 1-1 delivery, too high. 2-1.
The one thing to watch with Lacoste is to make sure he doesn't throw too many pitches up in the strike zone or above the belt. Doc Gooden can get away with the fastball up above the belt, but like Mike Lacoste, has to keep the ball down.
And that's ball 3. Lacoste is 34 years of age, 6 feet 6 inches tall. He's been pitching since 1974. Originally came up with the Cincinnati Reds and was a teammate of one Joe Morgan. And that's too low. So McReynolds draws a walk from Lacoste, the first walk allowed by the Giants right-hander.
Mike Lacoste was a teammate of mine, and I used to tell him all the time, you probably should be left-handed because you're wacky enough. He's the kind of guy that he's always doing something in the clubhouse. He keeps the club loose. He's always moving around, always talking to players. He's really a good guy to have on the ball club. And as I mentioned earlier, he is a battler.
What's that nickname of his?
Buffy.
Buffy. It's a very interesting nickname. Here's the pitch now to Torvey. Kelvin Torvey, a left-handed hitter. This is a guy who, at long last, getting a shot in the big leagues. He had 16 at-bats with the Twins in 1988. That had been his only previous major league experience. He's from Rapid City, South Dakota. Kelvin Torvey. Hit .291 at Portland last year. Was in the twin system most recently. 1 ball, 1 strike to count. He was hitting .301 at Tidewater when they brought him up.
Well, he looks like he's a pretty good hitter. He hits from an open stance. His swing is a little longer than you would like, but he adjusts pretty well to the pitcher. He starts it a little quicker, but from that open stance right there, he gets his hands back, and it makes his swing just a little longer than most hitting instructors would like.
And it is 2-1. Torvey has had 7 hits in 15 at bats so far with the Mets in the brief time he's been up here.
So he's been getting it started on time.
2-1. Mackie Sasser, another left-handed hitter, is on deck. Mets have 7 left-handed hitters in the batting order, including the 2 switch hitters. No score in the game. We're in the 2nd inning. 1 out and 1 on. McReynolds at first will steal a base if you don't keep an eye on it. The center fielder, Brett Butler, has plenty of time to move across the green. Now he'll give way to the right fielder, Kingery. And the winds of Candlestick bring that one to the right fielder instead. John Franco sitting out on the Mets left field bullpen. This is the view they get. It's not one of the best views in baseball, I don't think.
Well, the winds here at Candlestick Park are always a problem, especially early afternoon as we're in now. And you can see Mike Kingery just fighting it. He's not sure which way the wind's going to blow the ball because the wind swirls here. It doesn't blow in one set direction.
Here's Mackie Sasser. And Kingery will get another one. And he had less trouble with this line drive. Sasser is retired. So are the Mets. A 1 walk and 1 man left. They have stranded 2. And at the end of 1.5 innings, there is no score. And a couple of windsurfers on their way over to the ballpark. They thought it was a little bit of a later start. No score in the ball game. Be a great way to come to a ball game on a boat, on your windsurfing board. There you see the late afternoon shadows advancing upon home plate. Not there yet, but Joe, they'll be there soon.
Well, when they get there, they will aid Dwight Gooden and Mike Lacoste.
Here's Matt Williams. He hit a home run yesterday, and the night before he hit a 3-run homer against Frank Viola for the Giants' only runs in a 3-2 victory. And he's glad to get those home runs. He has neither homered nor driven in anybody much lately. He's way ahead in RBIs in the National League just a few weeks ago. He's behind Joe Carter now. That one is shot to the left center. That's a liner. And Reynolds will play it on the bounce, and Matt Williams continues to hit the ball hard.
I talked about Will Clark, Kevin Mitchell, and Matt Williams being good fastball hitters. We saw Kevin Mitchell line out to shortstop. Matt Williams gets a fastball here, and he lines it into left center field. Dwight Gooden will not be able to get these guys out with fastballs over the plate. That was a good pitch, down and away. Now watch Matt Williams go down and get it. That's almost a perfect swing there. And that was a 96-mile-an-hour fastball from Dwight Gooden.
Here's Terry Kennedy, left-handed hitter. No score, 2nd inning, runner at first, nobody out. Kennedy is hitting .282, 2 home runs, and 19 batted in. His father, Bob Kennedy, turned 70 yesterday, and he's at home in Arizona watching the ball game tonight. That could be 2. Gooden to Johnson, 1 to first, 2. A double play. 1 to 6 to 3, easily turned.
Well, Gooden does a good job of getting the ball to Johnson quickly enough. He jams Terry Kennedy, and he hits it right back to him. Turns, fires it right over the back. Perfect. Johnson's relay is perfect. That's a routine double play. You make 1,000 of those in spring training, practicing. 1 to 6 to 3.
Play right after he threw that ball, and he had his legs cut out from under him by Matt Williams. The Giants, they go in pretty hard at second base.
They play very tough baseball. If you're Dwight Gooden, you go over the Giants roster and you say, Kevin Mitchell, Will Clark, and Matt Williams can handle my fastball. Those are about the only 3 that I'm sure he figures can handle his fastball.
Well, Robbie Thompson gets hit by a curveball that Dwight Gooden couldn't handle.
That's a curveball from Gooden, and Robbie Thompson just kind of turns into it. I don't think he makes a real effort to get out of the way here. See, that's a curveball, and he just turns in, and the ball hits him on the left arm. Watch how he just turns in instead of moving away from it. That was a curveball. If that would have been a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, I think he would have gotten out of the way. I don't think he would have taken that one for the team.
He might have been a little quicker. It is the third hit batsman of the year for Dwight Gooden. The other two came in one ball game in Philadelphia about 10 days ago, which ended up being the start of some very bad blood, or I guess more of a continuation of bad blood between those two clubs. Gooden later on got a hit, and then there was a brawl that started. Gooden has been hit by pitches twice. He has now hit 7. Make that correction. His 7th hit batsman. That was a real wild brawl about 10 days ago between the Mets and Phillies.
And I think the thing that surprised me most about it was Gooden charging the mound. If you're a pitcher, all you do is wait till he comes up, and Gooden throws harder than Combs does. So I think he would have had the best of that deal.
Jose Uribe is the hitter. Switch hitter batting left-handed. Check swing. It will go foul. They'll allow it to go foul. Magadan picks it up. You may have heard the crowd starting a chant, "Ooh, Uribe." How long have they been doing that here, Joe?
Since he started to play well.
When he was at 210 every year, they weren't doing it.
When he first got here, they were trying to figure out his name, because he was Jose Gonzalez the first couple of years, and then he became Jose Uribe. So they've started cheering him lately. He's been playing very well. Very fine defensive shortstop, steady, makes all the plays. He's hit well this year. He was up around 300 for the first half of the season. He's been struggling like the whole team has lately.
Hitting 260. And back to the bag is Robbie Thompson. Thompson has stolen 10 bases this year. No score, second inning. Joe Morgan not only is from the Bay Area, makes his home out here, and has a thriving business going on here, but also broadcasts San Francisco Giants games on the Sports Channel in the Bay Area. That's a bloop that will go foul, and you get a look at some of that ample foul territory. That easily would have been back into the seats in most ballparks.
You know, if you think about it, only the Angels have had a National League batting champion or American League batting champion in the last few years. There's so much foul ground here, it takes points off a hitter's batting average. Foul balls that would be in the stands, you get another swing, they're outs in this ballpark and all the other California ballparks except for Anaheim.
And if anything, the Oakland Coliseum may even have a little more foul territory than this place, which is remarkable then that Carney Lansford almost won the batting title over there. Will Clark almost won it playing here last year as well. 2 strikes as the runner goes. Sasser right there. Perfect throw. The tag put on by Jeffries. That's the kind of throw Mackey Sasser's been making with regularity these last couple of months. He has really made a transformation as a fine defensive catcher. No score after 2. The Giants have had some great pennant races in both New York and San Francisco.
Here's the pitch. A line drive to center. This could be it. Mays waiting. He's got it. The Giants win the pennant. The Giants have won it as Mays tears his mouth by the Giants. They won it 6-4 on a dramatic 4-run rally of the night.
And that last play-by-play of the 1962 championship broadcast by Lon Simmons. Great broadcaster, the Giants then with the Oakland A's now. And of course in 1951 of the Polo Grounds, that was the immortal Russ Hodges, who's in the Hall of Fame. We're at Candlestick Park, and Joe, we just saw a very fine throw by Mackey Sasser to nail Robbie Thompson.
Well, this is a perfect throw. He comes up straight over the top, which is perfect. You see the ball doesn't tail away, doesn't move away. It's right on the same line. When you come straight over the top, the ball stays true. And we'll get a look at the tag here by Jeffries. Tags him right on the front arm before he gets there. But I think the thing about Sasser that's improved so much is that he throws much better. He gets right over the top. And that comes from Doc Edwards. Joe West and Roger Craig in a conference here. But Joe West doesn't know what it's about either, he says.
Well, Doc Edwards said that he found out that Mackey Sasser had been a shortstop in school. Are they going to make? Oh, I see. Robbie Thompson is not out on the field as yet, and apparently having to remove something from his eyes, dust or something, and he's just now getting ready to come back out there. Is that Bob Lillis he was with there?
Yes, Bob Lillis.
But when he found out that he'd been a shortstop, he said, hey, when you are a shortstop turning a double play, the way you come across the bag, the footwork involved there is the kind of footwork that I want to see you use as a catcher. So he took him out to second base and threw balls to him at second base and said, step and throw the way you would normally. And then they moved that in behind the plate and did the same thing there. And that's Edwards said, hey, if the guy hadn't been a shortstop, I don't know what I would have done with it. There's strike one to Dwight Gooden.
Well, basically what he was saying is you need quick feet and use your feet. All middle infielders have to have quick feet. And so he's moving that behind the plate now.
And that's a foul. Kind of a novel method of instruction, I thought, by Doc Edwards.
Well, I think probably what he saw was that Sasser was not getting set quick enough with his feet. So he worked on that by making double plays from shortstop or second base. You have to use your feet at those two positions.
2 strikes the count. It just misses. Mackey Sasser says that Doc Edwards is like his own personal coach. There's Mackey in the corner with Darryl Strawberry. He says in a lot of ways Doc is like a second father to him. Sasser's father died earlier this year. Up the middle, base hit for Dwight Gooden. Second hit for the Mets.
And the pitchers, opposing pitchers, have been killing the Giants. In Saturday's ball game, they walked the pitcher after there were 2 down, and the Mets end up scoring 5 runs.
No score here. Meanwhile, a ball game going in Texas. The second place White Sox who need a win tonight. The same reason the Giants and Mets need a win tonight. White Sox are ahead of the Rangers there. We'll follow the progress of that one. Leadoff man Darryl Boston is up. He grounded to short his first time. No score in this game. 3rd inning. Ball 1. Shadows are almost right up to home plate now.
In about another 15-20 minutes, they will start to distract the hitters. The shadows around home plate.
That is fouled on the right field line. Darryl Boston, back in the 1981 June draft, was the 7th player in the entire draft selected by the White Sox. They thought he was going to be a star. Never worked out for him. Interestingly enough, the man who was chosen just ahead of him in that year's draft by the Padres was Kevin McReynolds. And McReynolds has had quite a career. The Mets, though, Boston has done so well here, they continually ask, hey, why would the White Sox get rid of him like that?
Well, he's changed leagues, and that could have helped him. Maybe the pitchers do not know him quite as well yet as they will next year. Secondly, this is a fastball league. Maybe he's a good fastball hitter. I think he handles the fastball well in the occasions that I've seen him play.
He's got a little more support in the lineup over here, too, than he may have had most of those years with the White Sox.
Well, there was a lot of pressure on him to be a success in Chicago. Here, they just counted on him to come in and play fine defense, which he's done, but he's also added offense to their lineup.
Hit 300 for them. That's too high from Lacoste. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Nobody out. Gooden is at first. See Kennedy in the shadows there. Dave Magadan is on deck. Roger Craig, he was an original member of the New York Mets. He pitched their first game in Mets history. He also got the first loss in Mets history. That's fouled back. In fact, Roger Craig got 24 losses that first year, and he was the ace of the staff. 10 and 24.
He also played for Casey Stengel, who he credits for a lot of his managerial philosophy. Said he learned a lot playing for Casey.
He got involved in a terrible brawl in this ballpark against the Giants one day while pitching for the Mets in 1962. A brawl involving Willie Mays and Orlando Cepeda. That is down the right field line, but foul onto the Giants bullpen dugout. And caught it down there. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Darrell Boston.
One of the quirks about this ballpark is that anything that starts down the right field line will be pushed foul. It's almost impossible to hit a ball fair if you start it down the line. You have to start it over about 4 of those ovals over. You have to start it over by the Hubble sign on the right field fence if you're going to keep it fair down the right field line.
Two and two. Now Robbie Thompson will try and turn 2. Uribe 1. Back to fires. Safe. Boston just had too much speed to double him up. The ball just wasn't hit hard enough.
Well, you can see these guys turn it very well. It's 4 to 6 to 3 very quickly. And Jose Uribe really makes the pivot quickly at second base. But as you mentioned, Boston just runs well. Watch how quick this ball is way over in the hole. See how quickly Robbie Thompson gets the ball to him. Perfect toss, perfect relay. Boston's just too fleet. See, you hit the second base bag, throw the first, not in time.
They made it close, even though there goes Boston now. Kennedy throws it in the dirt, and Thompson makes a nice pickup, but it's a steal for Darrell Boston. Nothing's getting past Thompson right now.
Well, Boston had a pretty good jump from first base. Kennedy rushed his throw, and it bounced before it got to Robbie Thompson. Thompson made a good quick pickup. You can see he is a little bit out in front with his body when he tries to let it go, so he doesn't get enough on the throw. Robbie takes the short hop and then tries to get it down, not in time.
13th steal for Boston. Now with a 1 out, Magadan with a chance to bring him home. There's no score. Magadan looks at a strike, and it is 0-2. Magadan singled his first time. Now, he's in that batting race right now with McGee of St. Louis. McGee went 1 for 4 today. And also with Dykstra of Philly. We don't know what Dykstra did. Here's the 2-strike delivery. That will go foul off the left field line and back out of play. Mike Marshall now with the Boston Red Sox. He's on a rehab assignment. He may join the Red Sox before too much longer. Somebody asked Marshall who he liked in the National League East, and he said, I think the Pirates are going to win it. I was with the Mets when we won something like 26 out of 30, but the Pirates hung right in there.
I think that was a good observation.
Magadan hitting .332 at the moment, and that's a ball outside.
Most people felt like when the Mets caught the Pirates, they would go past them, and they did. Went up a couple of games, but the Pirates hung tough, and now I think the Pirates are playing better than anyone in the National League. And I think they've weathered the storm. I think the Pirates really believe that they can win now. That's why each game becomes more crucial for the Mets who are chasing the Pirates. The longer the Pirates stay in first place, the more they believe that they will be able to stay there for the remainder of the season.
I think the Reds would agree with your assessment, too, about the Pirates being tough. They take 4 in a row from the Reds in Cincinnati this weekend. And you see today, Pirates over the Reds 6-3. Montreal defeated the Dodgers. But Montreal has fallen upon this in front of that onslaught of Pittsburgh victories this week. They're back to 8 games out. 2-2 the count to Magadan. Runner at second. 1 out. Uribe trying to keep Boston close over there. Dykstra went into today's game, by the way, hitting .344. He went 1 for 3. And McGee was hitting .340. He went 1 for 4. Magadan .330 at the start of the day. 1 for 1 so far. Jeffries on deck. Trying to keep Boston close. Uribe over at second. That pitch will not count. Just in the nick of time, Joe West granted timeout to Dave Magadan, and Boston goes back to second.
And that's very unusual. Normally an umpire will not call timeout if the pitcher starts his motion.
And look at those shadows. The batter is completely in the dark now, in effect. At least compared to what the pitcher is. He's looking at the pitcher in the bright sun. The background's lit up. Just a bluff. Shadows cut right out across the left side of the diamond and into left field. The 2-2 pitch into the hole and through, base hit. Boston held up, and he will not score. Mitchell throws in to Matt Williams.
You have to give Boston an assist on this base hit because he was trying to get a big lead at second, and Jose Uribe was bothering so much with him that he did not get back to his position. So he's just starting to move back, and he's not quite set when the ball is hit. He may not have been able to make the play anyway to get Magadan at first, but he may have been able to stop Boston from moving over to third.
So there's Boston at third, and Magadan's now at first, and he's 2 for 2. The Giants trainers came out there to assist Robbie Thompson, second baseman, still having some troubles with his eyes, it looks like.
Well, Robbie wears contacts, and the wind here dries them out, and therein lies the problem. The trainer came out and squirted some moisture in his eyes so that his contacts would work properly.
Some candlestick moisture squirt.
Yeah.
And
the wind dries them out very quickly here.
this is not like the East where you get all the humidity in the summertime. It's a very dry climate. Here's ball one to Greg Jeffries. And the Mets now with a chance to move ahead here. They've got the big hitters up. Jeffries, then Strawberry, then Hojo. They've got Boston at third, Magadan at first. Clark on the bag with Magadan. Uribe and Thompson double play depth. That is to shallow center. Butler in a hurry. Can't get it. Coming in to score is Boston. Going to second is Magadan. And Butler just missed that one.
The ball is a little pop-up between Uribe at short and Brett Butler. And Butler was distracted by Uribe. Watch right here. He tries to avoid him. He's trying to catch the ball and avoid Uribe. There's the problem. Now he looks down. He doesn't know where it is. And Uribe was very upset because he felt like he could have caught it. But it was Butler's ball. He should have caught it, and he would have been able to keep Boston at third as well.
That'll be scored as an error on Brett Butler. And it is 1-0 Mets. And here is Strawberry. Swing and a foul back to the screen. 0-1. That was not deep enough to score Boston. And Butler just doesn't catch the ball. Darryl Strawberry hit into a force play his first time. That is just foul. Had it been fair, would have hit the bag. And the count is 0-2 to Strawberry. Butler also committed an error in yesterday's game.
Well, the Giants' problem started when they went on the last road trip. They went to 3 AstroTurf parks: Houston, Cincinnati, and Philadelphia. They only won 2 of the 10 ball games. Now, the problem started because they made a lot of mistakes in the field defensively, and it's usually easier to play AstroTurf than it is to play natural turf as far as ground balls are concerned.
That could be 2. Thompson to Uribe, 1 to first, 2. A double play. And that ends the inning. 4-6-3. But the error gives the Mets the lead. 2 hits and 1 left. 1-0 Mets. 1-0 Mets over the Giants. Roger Craig out having a discussion again with Joe West. And here at Candlestick Park, this is John Miller along with Joe Morgan. And Joe, although it's an important ball game for both ball clubs, the Giants are in truly a dire situation now. It's 6.5 out even if they win.
Right. Well, I think they need to make up some ground very quickly. As you mentioned, the Mets, it's not so important for them to make it up all at once, but the Giants have to make some inway to the Reds' lead right away, or else they're just going to be out of it. And on top of that, they have to be aware of the fact that the Dodgers have moved into second place now.
Dodgers lost today to Montreal. Ramon Martinez pitched a good ball game and lost it. Here's Jose Uribe, and he's got a base hit into left field. First ball swinging against Gooden. And that's the second hit for the Giants. Uribe stolen 4 bases, but been caught trying 9 times.
Yeah, a lot of those are on hit and runs. Roger Craig will hit and run with his pitching staff, which is unusual.
And as you might expect for a pitcher, apparently a lot of them swing and miss on those hit and runs. Here's Lacoste. Buffy. I mean, does he go around town? People call him Buffy?
No. Just they affectionately call him Buffy, his teammates.
Here's Magadan, very shallow at third. Lacoste, look out. Foul back into the crowd. Ended up using the bat almost as a shield that time.
Well, one of the problems we mentioned, the shadows now, it makes it very tough to pick the ball up from the pitcher. And he waits a little bit too long before he realizes this ball is too close to him. I've seen a lot of players foul the ball off and get hit around the helmet with the ricochet.
Well, maybe that's symptomatic of a Dwight Gooden fastball coming in from the sun and into those shadows right now. And he fouls that one back. 0-2.
Mike Lacoste usually does a pretty good job of bunting, but he's been on the disabled list. He has not been taking batting practice until he came off the disabled list. So a little tough to walk out there and bunt a 96-mile-an-hour fastball when you haven't seen any for a while.
Top of the order comes up next. Brett Butler awaiting his turn on deck. Lacoste bunts that one foul. Foul tip, strike 3.
That was a curveball from Gooden. He'd thrown him a couple of fastballs up and in, and then he threw him a breaking ball. Watch, he's thrown 2 fastballs up and in. Now this is a breaking ball down and away. That's a very tough pitch to bunt for anyone. You have to take that one.
And he didn't foul tip it. The ball was just, it was in the dirt. Here's Brett Butler, leadoff man. He grounded a short his first time. Runner at first. 1 out. 1-0. The Mets are ahead on the Butler error. And that's ball 1. Dwight Gooden. His last 2 starts, he got knocked around. He got hit hard in that ball game in Philadelphia, the one in which the brawl broke out. And then last Tuesday, pitching against the Dodgers, oddly enough against Ramon Martinez, they both got knocked around, but Gooden got the win. There goes Uribe, rather. And it's fouled away on the hit and run by Butler. 1 ball, 1 strike.
The Mets defensed that perfectly that time. Howard Johnson was not covering the shortstop, and that's where Butler was trying to hit the ball. Uribe was on the move, and the second baseman Jeffries went over to cover. And I think that's smart because it's tougher for Butler to pull Gooden's fastball to the right side than it is to hit a ground ball to the left side. So you don't automatically have the shortstop covered with a left-handed hitter.
1 ball, 1 strike, and back to the bag is Uribe. Giants, we're talking about them, the importance of this ball game, a chance to move back to within 6.5 of Cincinnati. Giants have been counted out. I think they've been counted out 2 or 3 times by most people already this year. Runner going, the ball was taken in a bad throw by Mackey Sasser. Uribe steals it easily, his 5th of the year.
It looked like for some reason Sasser did not expect Uribe to be going. It took him a long time to get rid of this baseball. Watch, see, he's still down in a crouch. Now he comes up. He came up out of the crouch late. And here in his throw, he pulled it off to the right side, left side of the bag.
He threw a pitch out.
Right. He looked like he was surprised.
So I was surprised.
Well, maybe no one yelled at him on the infield. You have a left-handed hitter at the plate, so he can't see Uribe take off. He needs a little help from the infield. Maybe they yelled a little late.
Now Butler becomes an RBI threat, and it's ball 3. 3-1 to Brett. Kingery is on deck. That's the 46th stolen base allowed while Gooden has been on the mound this year. Mike Scott is the only other National League pitcher to have seen that many steals while he's been working.
Well, the problem is he has such a deliberate movement to the plate that it gives you plenty of time to run. And we talked about it before. He's trying to slow that delivery down even more.
And that's ball 4 to Brett Butler. Second walk by Gooden. And it brings up Kingery. 2 on, 1 out. Now after Kingery will be Will Clark.
It seems that Gooden has lost a little bit of the pop off of his high fastball. And we're only in the 3rd inning.
Mets lead 1-0. The Giants with a threat here in the 3rd. Kingery lined out to right center his first time. That curveball in for a called strike. Strawberry, the right fielder, is playing over in right center. There's Bud Harrelson, the manager of the Mets, a Bay Area native. He grew up a fan of the San Francisco Giants, grew up in Hayward, just across the bay. The 1-strike delivery. Another curveball, another called strike. 2 strikes. Kingery hitting .243. Giants without Kevin Bass, supposed to be the regular in right field. He's in the disabled list. Now Rick Leach, who has been suspended with drug found in his sample. There's a swing and a miss. Strike 3. Kingery just trying to slap that one somewhere to put it in play without any success.
I've always felt like, as a hitter, when the shadows were over the field as they are now, that the breaking ball was the toughest pitch for me to hit. I could see the fastball even though it might be a blur, but the breaking ball, you could not see any spin on it. So you're also late when you decide that it is a breaking ball. And when you try to wait for the breaking ball, he throws a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, you can go sit down.
So here's Will Clark. He drew a first-inning walk. Chance to deliver a run here. Uribe at second, Butler at first. 1-0 Mets. And the breaking ball is high. Clark hitting at .290. He's got 76 RBIs. Still plenty of time for him to finish with over 100. Fastball foul, and the count is 1 ball and 1 strike. There's Uribe. He's at second base. And Brett Butler in the sunshine over at first base. He's a very fast runner. The Mets ahead. By a 1-0 count. That last pitch to Will Clark, that fastball, 97 miles per hour. Will Clark in the dark. Good and ready. The 1-1 pitch. That'll go right to the shortstop, Howard Johnson. The force out on Butler, and the inning is over. So Clark is unable to deliver the run. The Giants lead 2. And at the end of 3, the Mets won. The Giants nothing.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Midas and its dealers across the country. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody. And by Olympic, the family of stain products that protect your home from damage rain can do. Olympic stops the rain.
Back at Candlestick Park on a beautiful night. A bright blue Northern California sky overhead, and the Giants and Mets in a very important ball game here in August. It will be Howard Johnson to lead it off for New York. 1-0 New York, and Lacoste misses ball 1. Johnson, one of 3 players to have had at least 2 30-homer and 30 stolen base seasons. The other 2 played right here. Willie Mays, yeah, Willie Mays and Bobby Bonds.
And I think his son Barry will join them this year.
And it's a foul off to the left. Long run for that ball by Matt Williams, but it was in amongst the spectators. 1 ball, 1 strike to count. Bobby Bonds did it 5 times. He sort of, I think, has a lifetime membership at the top of that one. Howard Johnson, Willie Mays. Mays probably could have done it a number of times as well, but they didn't ask him to steal very often most of those years.
Well, it just wasn't that important, those numbers in those days. In the modern era now, statistics are more important, I would say, the last 8 to 10 years.
But also the game wasn't played that way, right? In the 50s, particularly, teams didn't run.
No. You had the smaller ballparks as well.
Every team had 2 or 3 big sluggers. I mean, teams that Ralph Kiner with some bad Pirates clubs, and Wally Westlake, and Senators had some big guys, Roy Sievers, and Jim Lemon. Bad clubs, that guy. Ernie Banks, I mean, he's on some real bad clubs at 47 homers and over 40 many times.
But as I mentioned, in 1965, the Astrodome was built. Since that time, all the National League parks that were built have been large ballparks, kind of symmetrical, 330, 380s, and 400 to center field.
That's ball 4 to Howard Johnson. Second walk by Lacoste. 1-0. The Mets are out in front. Baltimore beat Oakland today 3-1. Good news for the White Sox. The White Sox are leading Texas. Baltimore 3-2 over Oakland, and the White Sox are leading Texas 1-0 in the 4th tonight. With a victory, the White Sox will move back to within 6.5. And then tomorrow night, Oakland goes to Chicago for a 3-game series, and you'll be able to see the final game of that series Wednesday right here on ESPN Baseball Tonight. It'll be 8:30 Eastern Time Wednesday. Oakland and the White Sox from historic Comiskey Park. The White Sox have they've done well against the Athletics too. McReynolds the hitter, and he takes a called strike. 0-1.
I think that'll be a make or break series for the White Sox, because 3 losses to the A's could put it out of reach.
They have had such a fine season, the White Sox. Very young ball club. They have a chance to be around in a lot of pennant races for a number of years. And that's ball 1. 1 ball, 1 strike. This young fellow that picked up, Alex Fernandez, just a year out of college. Young right-hander out of Miami. And they say he reminds them of a young Tom Seaver. Throws hard, handles himself well in the mouth, fields his position well. They got one of the deepest bullpens in either league.
Well, their bullpen actually carried them the first half.
1-0. The Mets are ahead here. We're in the top of the 4th inning at Candlestick Park. Kevin McReynolds drew a walk his first time. Lacoste is very high. Ball 2. 2-1.
With a runner on base, Roger Craig always signals to Terry Kennedy whether he wants him to pitch out or not. And Terry Kennedy looks over and relays it to the pitcher if he wants a pitch out. Roger Craig calls more pitch outs than any manager in the National League. Therefore, he's more successful at catching runners as well.
Howard Johnson has had great success. There he goes. And the hit and run was on apparently because McReynolds swung at ball 3.
Well, you'd like to think it was a hit and run if he swung at that pitch. But it was up and in, and he chases it. I'm not so sure it's a hit and run. I think he started to swing at it, and the ball continued to chase him. Gets a little piece of Kennedy there as well.
2-2 the count. Johnson does not have a real big lead over at first. He's not running. That one is hit deep into left center field. Mitchell just turns and looks up, and this one is gone. A home run. Kevin McReynolds with a 2-run homer, his 15th home run of the year, and the Mets lead now 3-0. Wow, that was a blast.
Well, Mike Lacoste has been struggling with the high fastball, trying to get the ball down. That's why he walked Howard Johnson. He could not get it down, and he gets a high fastball up and over the plate to Kevin McReynolds, and it's out of here.
And they threw that ball back onto the field.
This is a high fastball out over the plate, and Kevin McReynolds hits his 15th home run. There was no doubt about it as soon as he touched it.
Kevin McReynolds, a big home run for the Mets. 3-0 the score now as Kelvin Torvey comes up and he takes ball one. You know, McReynolds had only 5 hits in 31 lifetime at bats against Lacrosse.
Well, you could see the swing he took the pitch before.
That one might be playable. Matt Williams a long way to go, and he got there into the bullpen area. Nice play. First out of the inning.
Matt Williams had a perfect jump on this ball. He ran it down, and the wind starts to bring it back. As you can see, he has to slow down. The wind blows to right field this time of the day. Now, once the normal night game starts around 7:30, it blows the other way. It's really screwy wind here at Candlestick Park. It swirls around every place.
Here's Mackey Sasser. Sasser lined out to right his first time. He's a guy who goes up there to swing the bat. He calls himself a hacker. He says, I've always been a hacker. He says a lot of it goes back to when I play street ball with the older kids. If you wasted a lot of time when you're up at the plate, you were gone. That's the short. Uribe's up with it. That one-handed pickup, and he throws out Mackey Sasser. 2 down. 3-0 Mets. Here's a look at the big crowd at Candlestick Park. These last couple of years have been the best years in attendance in the history of the Giants. They had 2 million last year for the first time ever, and they're on their way to that again.
Well, the Mets are a good attraction. They had 43,000 here yesterday and 32 on Friday night, so a lot of people seeing baseball here over the weekend.
Strike one to Dwight Gooden. Gooden singled and started that rally in the 3rd inning. He got forced out. He didn't score the run, but should get some kind of an assist. He's now 2 for 2. Right through the hole. So Dwight Gooden doing it on both sides today. Even when he doesn't hit, the Mets usually score a lot of runs for him. 6.7 runs of support for 9 innings. It's the best support of any starting pitcher in baseball. Oddly enough, the second best support in the National League has been for Ramon Martinez of the Dodgers. And these two great pitchers met against each other at Shea Stadium last week. And of course you're thinking, hey, 2-1, great matchup, 1-0. Well, it ended up 9-8. They both got supported beautifully. That was right to Will Clark at first, and the inning is over. Darrell Boston promptly retired, but the Mets get 2 runs with 2 hits. They leave 1 man on. And the Giants have to play catch-up now. Mitchell will lead it off. Back at Candlestick Park, there's the foul pole in left field, which Kevin Mitchell has hit. He's gone over it. He's gone around it. And Kevin Mitchell has gone in many other directions for home runs around the National League these last couple of years, Joe.
Well, he hits the ball to all parts of the field. I think the most impressive thing there is that he hits a lot down the right field line, hits a lot down the left field line. I think one of the reasons he does that is because he uses a heavy bat. And if he's a little late, he can still drive the ball the other way.
And that's a strike on the outside. 3-0 Mets. Kevin Mitchell came up with that World Championship Mets ball club in 1986.
Had a big hit in that victory, that 6-game victory that kept them alive.
A ball and a strike. But it wasn't until he got here that Mitchell really flowered as a ball player. Become one of the top sluggers in the game. Curve is high, ball 2, 2-1. We talked about this in an earlier telecast. You see he's struggling right now in the month of August, but very steady otherwise, over 300 all season long. And there aren't many players in the game who put up the kind of numbers he puts up. And will go foul back out of play. 2 balls, 2 strikes for Kevin Mitchell.
I think the great thing about those numbers, he's really struggled most of the year with a sore wrist. His right wrist has been bothering him since spring training. He missed the start of the season, actually, because of a sore wrist. And anytime you have problems with your hands as a hitter, it takes away from your effectiveness.
I asked him if it's been getting any better at all. He said it will not get better until the season's over. He needs rest, and he might even need some surgery.
Right.
3 different times he's had injections, cortisone injections in that wrist when it's got particularly painful.
He's not boxing. Those are not boxing shoes. Those are just some high tops that he has on to support his ankle. His right ankle has been bothering a lot lately.
He draws the walk.
He went to the high top shoes.
Just like Billy Bucks wore in that '86 World Series. Here's Matt Williams. Sasser out to speak to Gooden. Gooden's walked 3 already.
Well, he showed you the respect that he has for Kevin Mitchell right there. He has a 3-run lead, but he still went after him with the breaking ball instead of saying, here, hit my best fastball. He respects the power of Kevin Mitchell and Matt Williams, who is at the plate now. But with a 3-run lead, I think you have a fastball like Doc Gooden, you go ahead and challenge him.
Well, Viola challenged this man Friday night, and Williams hit one right over the center field fence. 3-run homer. Ball 1. Yesterday against David Cohn, he hit one over the right field fence. Another guy has power to all fields. You wouldn't see that much from him last year, would you?
No. He has basically learned to hit the ball the other way the second half of last year and this year. Before that, he was pretty much a pull hitter.
Frank Viola lost 3 in a row. Quietly looking on, hoping that his teammate Doc Gooden will have more success tonight. 3-0. The Mets lead the Giants. Last of the 4th. Giants have only 2 hits. Williams had one of those, a single in the second. Curveball, bounced foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. Matt Williams is still just a young guy. He's only 24 years of age.
Well, he's been up and down so much, people think that he has been around for a long period of time. He's really improved his career average, as you could see. He was 198 up until this year.
Says he's just trying now to be himself at the plate, just to go with what he knows he can do. Fouled that one. 1 ball, 2 strikes. He said he used to, when he was in slumps in years past, he'd listen to everybody. He said he once even got a letter from a girl who was playing slow pitch softball, and she told him what she did when she had a slump. And he said he went out and tried it. He doesn't do that anymore.
I think that's pretty smart. There's a little difference between facing a slow pitch and Doc Gooden's 96-mile-an-hour fastball.
Well, now you don't know what she advised. It might have been some great advice, Joe. 1-2 to Matt Williams. Fastball is low. 2-2 the count. I mean, when you're in a slump, though, and Williams has been struggling here lately, as have the Giants as a team. When you're in a slump, that's bad times.
Yeah, well, it's bad times for the Giants, especially because August they had a chance to really close the gap on the Reds, and they went into a team slump, a hitting slump and a fielding slump. That's why they're still 7 games out entering tonight's play.
2-2 pitch. A curve is a fair ball along the left field line. Rounding second is Mitchell, heading for third. The ball is picked up by McReynolds. Mitchell will be held at third, and Williams is into second with a stand-up double. Giants are in business in the 4th inning. And again, Mitchell starts it with a walk, and then Williams with the double.
Dwight Gooden is not throwing a real sharp curveball. He seems to be losing some arm speed on his curveball. Watch this curveball. It's more of a rolling curveball. See, that ball is rolling, not sharp. And Matt Williams is able to hammer it because it's on the inside part of the plate. And the umpire has to duck. Harry Wendelstedt has to get out of the way first and then call it fair.
That's an interesting fair call there by Wendelstedt. Down to his knees, but his hands pointing fair. Beautifully done by Harry. I think that will become the rage. Here's Kennedy, and he takes ball 1. Kennedy hit a double play his first time.
Again, what I see from Dwight Gooden is not enough confidence in his fastball. He had a couple of strikes on Matt Williams. He used to come with the real high fastball out of the strike zone and get guys to chase it. He did not try a high fastball on Matt Williams.
Nobody out of the inning. That is down the right field line. It's a base hit. Mitchell scores. Rounding third is Williams. He'll score. Into second with a double is Terry Kennedy. And it's 3-2 New York.
Again, Gooden kind of hangs a changeup. That's not his good fastball. Again, it looks like a change, and he pulls it down the right field line. Both runners score, and Kennedy hustles into second with a double.
And that's Mel Stottlemyre, the pitching coach of the Mets, out there with Sasser and Hojo and Magadan and Doc Gooden. A walk and then back-to-back doubles to start the inning. And Bud Harrelson a little concerned right now, but it's the Giants who have the bullpen busy right now.
As I mentioned last inning, he seemed to be losing a little pop on his fastball, and what I could see is that he was losing a little arm speed. He is not getting as much arm speed on his fastball as he normally does. I don't know if his arm is bothering him a little bit or he just doesn't feel comfortable on the mound, but he has lost a lot of arm speed the last 2 innings.
This is Robbie Thompson, a strike. It's now a 3-2 Mets lead. Nobody out. And the possible tying run of the game is at second base. Thompson would like to get Terry Kennedy over to third. Rick Rodriguez, a right-hander, warming up in the Giants bullpen. The pitcher is due up third from right here for the Giants. 0-2.
See, that's the Dwight Gooden that you want to see if you're Mel Stottlemyre. Good high fastball. Good arm speed. Turn the ball loose.
There's Rick Rodriguez, just called up today by the Giants. They sent Mike Laga back to the minor leagues. And the fans begin chanting, Robbie.
Terry Kennedy is having some problems out at second base. When he slid into second base, he got up and started to walk around. He's had a back problem for the last couple of weeks, and I think he wanted to make sure that Bill Fahey wanted to make sure that he could score from second on a base hit.
2 strikes the count. Came back with a fastball again, and Robbie Thompson was able to foul it off and scared the heck out of a technician back there. Terry Kennedy with his 19th double of the year, his 20th and 21st runs batted in. He and Gary Carter have done pretty well platooning behind the plate. The two of them have hit 10 homers with 45 RBIs between them. And both giving the pitching staff that veteran presence behind the plate.
They've actually struggled themselves the last couple of weeks, but before that, they were doing an excellent job. Not only were they hitting home runs, driving in runs, but they were hitting well average-wise. They were getting a lot of base hits, moving a lot of runners up into scoring position.
2 strikes the count. Just a little bit low. 1-2. Uribe is on deck. We're only in the 4th inning. A lot of action already in this one. Mets 3, Giants 2. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Fastball again, and it misses. 2-2. Robbie Thompson chokes up on that bat, as you can see. Mets infield backed up all the way around. The outfield straight away. The 2-2 pitch. And that will go back out of play down the right field line. Thompson's job just to get Kennedy over to third any way he can.
Well, he was wanting to take a shot to right field until he had 2 strikes. Now he just has to try to pick him up.
Facing Doc Gooden, sometimes it's enough just trying to make contact. Gooden has just the 2 strikeouts in this one. One of those was Lacoste bunting on 2 strikes. 2 strikeouts and 3 walks and a hit batsman for Gooden. He delivers. Ball 3. Now remember, he had Thompson at 0-2. Now it is full 3-2.
Well, he wanted to get him out with the high fastball, but he got it too far inside. He wanted to get Robbie Thompson to chase a fastball up and in.
Gooden checks Kennedy, delivers, and that will keep Kennedy at second. Howard Johnson throws out Robbie Thompson. That was quite a duel there. So Robbie battled Gooden very toughly there, but Dwight prevails. Now Uribe. Look at that big crowd at Candlestick Park. The Giants moved in here in 1960. Ballpark was not enclosed at that time. And soon enough, they learned about all of the winds and the fog and what Candlestick was really all about out here on what is called Candlestick Point, right along the shores of the San Francisco Bay. Uribe singled his first time. Curveball, too low. Now the pitcher's on deck. First base is open. Rodriguez has stopped throwing in the Giant bullpen. Any reason at all for Gooden to throw Uribe anything even close to being fat here?
Well, nothing fat, but you do have to go after him and try to get him out.
That will go foul.
It's not a situation where you pitch around him to get to the pitcher because there's 1 out. And basically what you're saying, if you walk him, is you'd rather pitch to Brett Butler than to pitch to Jose Uribe, and I don't think that's the case here. I think they'd rather pitch to Uribe and not Butler. By that, if you walk Uribe, you're going to have to pitch to Butler.
A ball and a strike to Uribe. He's hitting .262. Runner at second, 1 out. Fouls this one. And the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes. The inning started. Kevin Mitchell drew a walk from Dwight Gooden. And then Matt Williams doubled Mitchell to third. And shortly thereafter, Kennedy doubled them both home. Now Kennedy still at second base with 1 out, and Uribe with a 1 ball, 2 strike count. The Giants are trailing 3-2. This is the 4th inning. He struck him out. Strikes out as the fans chant, "Ooh, Uribe."
What you want to do if you're good and then you're trying for a strikeout here, you start the curveball in the strike zone and let it break out. See, it's a strike, now it's not. There's nothing that Jose can do with that pitch. He may foul it, but you're not going to drive it any place. So he hung a breaking ball to Matt Williams and got hurt.
So Roger Craig will stick with Mike Lacoste now. Earlier he had the bullpen busy thinking about perhaps pinch hitting, but now it's a 1-run game and he's going to stay with Lacoste, who hits a high foul. It leaves the shadows and up into the sunshine and back in amongst the spectators. Out of play. 0-1 the count. They're talking about a new ballpark down in Santa Clara. Giants, if everything ends up going through down there, would move down there and become the Santa Clara Giants. That one is also foul off to the right. 0-2 the count to Lacoste. He struck out on a bunt attempt his first time.
They would no longer be the Giants as we know them.
Sounds odd to us, doesn't it?
Yes.
New York 3, Santa Clara 2. The weather's much nicer down there, though, during a baseball season. Check swing foul, and that one wings Mackie Sasser, the catcher. 0-2.
I think the deceiving thing, John, is that the weather's nice in most places in San Francisco in the summertime. Just not here at Candlestick Point, as you put it, and at the ballpark. There's a lot of wind here. This is a beautiful ballpark. Without the wind, it's very pleasant here. The wind is the problem.
At the downtown stadium, they've just never been able to get that to happen.
Well, I think the earthquake was the problem with that.
0-2 the count. Too low is Dwight Gooden with a fastball. Kennedy at second. 2 down in the 4th inning.
The vote was taken right after the earthquake, and a lot of people felt that that money would be taken away from the earthquake victims and used for the ballpark, which was not true, but that's the way it came out.
These downtown ballparks have been such a boon to the inner cities of St. Louis, Cincinnati, many cities. Third baseman Magadan will have an easy play on Lacoste. And Magadan throws out Buffy over at first base to retire the side. The Giants get right back into it. 2 runs, 2 hits, and 1 man left. Mets 3, Giants 2 at the end of 4. 3-2, the Mets lead the Giants. We're heading into the 5th inning from Candlestick Park. This is John Miller and Joe Morgan, your ESPN Sunday Night Baseball telecasters. And next Sunday night, we will be in Detroit, a great old ballpark. We'll get a first-hand look at Cecil Fielder, who now has 39 home runs. And he'll be up against Jose Canseco in the Athletics. Canseco with 34, and today McGuire hit number 32. All in one ballpark. The Tigers and the Athletics at historic Tiger Stadium, which has been known to be a ballpark where guys can reach the fences. Maybe we'll have some fireworks next Sunday. That's 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, and 2 o'clock in Honolulu and the Outer Islands. Of course, every Sunday night baseball. I'm looking forward to that one next week. Here's ball 1 from Mike Lacoste to Dave Magadan. Magadan is 2 for 2 in this game. Has lifted his average to 334. 3-2. The Mets are ahead. Fielder's he went nuts this weekend. You see, he had I don't know what he did today, but he had gone 9 for 11 with 6 RBIs.
He had been struggling for a little while. His batting average had dropped down into 270s. Now he's back over 290. Swinging the bat very well. And when he hits well, he hits home runs.
I forget who it was who said it. It was a great line. Cecil Fielder is the only Japanese import that they cheer in Detroit. And he's earned those cheers. There's a strike 2-1. Fielder had pretty good success in a platoon. He actually platooned with Fred McGriff in Toronto for a couple of years. Hit a lot of home runs then, too. Not quite this many, however. 39 he's got. And lest you think that happens to everybody who plays in Detroit, they have not had a man hit 40 home runs for them since all the way back in 1961, when both Norm Cash and Al Kaline, or not Kaline, but Norm Cash and Rocky Colavito did it for them that year. The 2-2 pitch to Magadan. 3-2.
And again, Lacoste goes out here in the 5th inning after the Giants have come back and made it a ball game again. And he continues to be up in the strike zone. He's got to get the ball down.
He's got some big hitters to follow Magadan, too. He needs to get Magadan. But he doesn't. He walks him. Now you've got Jeffries, and after Jeffries, you've got Strawberry. And then Johnson, and then McReynolds. Tell you what, this Mets ball club, maybe the middle of that order doesn't have the numbers of Clark, Mitchell, and Williams combination, but this is a pretty solid batting order right here when you get to the power.
Well, it's a very solid batting order. There are 3, 4, 5 real good hitters, and now that they have Magadan in the 2nd spot, that makes 2, 3, 4, 5 good. And you have McReynolds in the 6th slot.
Here's Jeffries. He's flying to shallow left, and he was safe on the Brett Butler drop fly ball. He takes a strike. So Jeffries is 0 for 2, but it was on that fly ball he hit to shallow center in the 3rd that the first run of the game scored.
And there with a man on first base, Roger Craig gives the signal to Terry Kennedy whether he wants to pitch out or not.
That's into right center field. There's nobody out there. They're going to have to chase this one. It's all the way to the wall. Kingery will play the carom. Rounding third is Magadan, and he will score. Heading for third, Jeffries to throw. He's out! The relay beautifully handled to get Jeffries at third.
Robbie Thompson makes the relay from the outfield better than any second baseman I've ever seen. He gets out on this play that comes off the fence. Kingery does a good job of getting it to Robbie Thompson. Now Robbie Thompson, very strong, very accurate as a relay man. That's perfect right there. He threw out Mackey Sasser trying to score at the plate the other day on a similar play, but this one's right on the money. Nice tag by Matt Williams. You could second guess the Mets a little bit there because, you know, the cardinal rule in baseball, you do not make the first out or the last out at third base. So basically, Jeffries should have stayed at second.
Yeah, they'd be looking pretty good with Strawberry up and Jeffries at second and nobody out. 1 ball, 1 strike to Strawberry. Strawberry has hit into a force play, and he has hit into a double play. He's 0 for 2. 4-2 now, the Mets lead. Greg Jeffries with his 32nd double of the year. 32 doubles. And he has tied for the league leadership in that category. Up the middle. Base hit for Strawberry. And Lacoste has not retired anybody himself in this inning. A walk, a double, and now a single.
Well, Strawberry doesn't take a home run cut on this ball. He just kind of serves it back through the middle. Watch, he doesn't take the big swing. He just kind of guides this right back through the middle. You can see he just serves it. Not a real spinning swing that he takes a lot of times when he's trying to really drive the ball to right field.
Here's Howard Johnson. He has grounded a second, and he has walked. He led off the 4th inning with a walk, starting the 2-run rally. 4-2, Mets ahead. 1 out, 1 on. That is down the right field line and fair. Rounding second, going to third is Strawberry. He'll be held at third. Into second with a stand-up double is Howard Johnson. And they are teeing off on Mike Lacoste now. The 31st double of the year for Howard Johnson. And Rick Rodriguez is getting ready in the bullpen in a hurry. Just up today for the minor leagues.
Well, again, Mike Lacoste is getting the ball up, and you can't do that. High sinkers are hit very hard by major league hitters, and that's what he's doing, getting a high sinker up, and everyone's teeing off on it.
Well, the Giants are going to bring the infield in here for McReynolds, who has walked, and then he blasted a 2-run homer back in the 4th, way over the 365-foot marker in left center. The infield is in. That's a high foul. Matt Williams gives chase, and he runs out of room.
It's unusual to see an infield all the way in with a strong hitter like McReynolds at the plate. Most times you'll play it halfway or just a little bit closer than halfway, but the Giants have their runners, their infielders inside the baselines.
Well, these are times for these kind of desperate moves. Down by 7.5 in the standings at the start of the day.
It's also dangerous.
How many can they expect to get with Doc Gooden on the mound? 1 strike pitch, very high. That's right. If you're an infielder, you don't think too much of this strategy.
Not only that, you just not have any range from that close in. But again, it's not going to matter if Lacoste keeps throwing the ball up because he's not going to hit it on the ground.
1-1 the count. That's a long drive deep into left center field again. And this one is also gone. Another home run for McReynolds. A 3-run shot this time. And McReynolds almost single-handedly has blown this game open. It is 7-2 New York. McReynolds with 2 homers and 5 runs batted in.
If you get the ball up, they're not going to hit it on the ground. And that's another example of that. High fastball out over the plate, and McReynolds does the same thing here that he did the last time up.
McReynolds hit this one onto the ground out in front of the left field grandstand.
High fastball, and it's gone right now.
And Lacoste is gone too. Rick Rodriguez gets the call. Kevin McReynolds has not been a great season for him, but tonight 2 homers and 5 RBIs. We're only in the 5th inning. Mets 7, the Giants 2, and we'll be back. Ball at Candlestick Park, or perhaps better said tonight, the Kevin McReynolds Show.
Well, John, you can play the infield in, you can play the outfield in. It doesn't matter if you throw high fastballs because you're not going to get a ground ball. High fastball in the middle of the plate, and McReynolds deposits it over the left field fence. 5 RBIs in the last couple of swings. 2-run homer and now a 3-run homer.
And here is Rick Rodriguez against Kelvin Torvey, who drives one into center. Brett Butler streaking across the green to grab that one. So Torvey going right after Rodriguez. And that is the second out of the inning. Lacoste lasted only 4 into third innings. Charged with 7 runs, 6 of them earned, 9 hits, 3 walks. But it was Kevin McReynolds primarily who routed him in this one. McReynolds, by the way, 5 RBIs, 6 is his all-time career record. And he did that last August at St. Louis on a night when he hit for the cycle.
Well, we're only halfway.
So he's got 5 already in the 5th inning tonight. Here is Mackey Sasser. That's foul. Rick Rodriguez, a well-traveled right-hander. He was at Phoenix, 3-1 with a 4.41 ERA there when the Giants called him up today. And he'd been at Phoenix for about 2 months. Rick Rodriguez is 29 years of age. He was born in Oakland, just across the bay. That's a check swing ball in the dirt. 1 ball, 1 strike. Meanwhile, the White Sox clinging to a 2-1 advantage at Texas. Last of the 6th. The White Sox having a hard time against the Rangers, who've been one of the hottest teams in the American League for a couple of months. Change up, and that's foul. Rodriguez, by the way, pitched for Oakland in parts of the 1986 and 87 seasons. Originally selected by Oakland in the June of 1981 free agent draft. He's also appeared in the big leagues with Cleveland back in 1988. But mostly he's been in the minor leagues: Modesto, Tacoma, Albany, Huntsville, Colorado Springs. Hit hard into right field, but Kingery is there at the edge of the track, and that ends the inning. So Sasser is retired. He's now 0 for 3, but the Mets get 4 runs, 4 hits. Top of the order coming for the Giants, 7-2 New York. Last of the 5th inning, the Giants are down by 5 runs now, 7-2, but they have a long while to try and chip away at this lead against Dwight Gooden. But anytime you're facing Gooden and you're down by 5, no matter what inning it is, you're not in very good shape. Brett Butler is grounded to short and walk. Top of the order, he'll be followed by Kingery and Clark. Base hit. Hit number 5 for the Giants. And the Giants, of all the teams in the National League, may be one of those best equipped to come back from a deficit like this, with all of the thunder in the heart of that order.
Well, this base hit is acquired because he had the first baseman Torvey playing way in, and he just hits it right by him. If Torvey is back, he can pick that ball up.
So there's bunting for base hits, and then there's the threat of the bunt, which can get him some base hits because of the different defenses they put up. Here's Kingery. He takes ball 1. Kingery has lined out to right center and struck out.
This is a time that if you're Dwight Gooden, you should go ahead, try to use your fastball, move it in, out, up, and down, and just see if you can get loose. See if you can find your rhythm. He's got a 5-run lead, and he's in the 5th inning. He's been struggling trying to find his rhythm throughout the ball game, and I think if he tries to stick with one pitch, maybe he can find it.
That's it deep in the right center field. Going back, Strawberry. Still going back, still going back. He makes the catch. Butler was all the way to second. He has to re-tag and go back to first.
I think one of the underrated things about Darryl Strawberry is his defense. There are times when he doesn't look like he's a real good defensive outfielder, but anytime he has a chance to go get the baseball, he can do it. See, this allows him a chance to go get it, and he runs it down. Nice play. When the ball was first hit, it looked like it was in the gap for extra bases.
Now Will Clark. He has walked and hit into a force play, and of course then Mitchell, then Williams. 7-2. The Mets are ahead. 1 out, 1 on. We're in the 5th. Curves him for ball 1. We're in the last of the 5th inning. The Giants trailing the Mets 7-2. This is John Miller with Joe Morgan. Sunday Night Baseball. We're glad to have you with us. Next Sunday we'll be in Detroit to watch the world champion Oakland A's and the Detroit Tigers. 7-2 is the score. There's a swinging strike. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Good high fastball.
When you look at this Giants ball club, those 3, 4, and 5 hitters, Clark, Mitchell, and Williams, the 3 of them and their RBI totals, they've driven in more runs this year than any other threesome with any other team. A nice curveball on the outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The Mets, with usually Jeffrey, Strawberry, and Howard Johnson, are not too far behind them. But the trio of Bell, McGriff, and Gruber from the Blue Jays is the one that's next. Canseco, McGuire, and Dave Henderson of Oakland are also represented in there. And what about the Pirates? That outfield, Van Slyke, Bonilla, and Bonds hitting 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Those guys can produce some runs too. But this has been the best. This modern-day murderer's row of Clark, Mitchell, and Williams. If he'd ever been healthy this year for the whole year, that San Diego club could have had some pretty hefty production with the likes of Gwynn, and Jack Clark, and Joe Carter. 2-2 to Will Clark, runner at first. And he's staying with that curveball, and he misses. Full count. Now Mitchell's on deck, and Gooden could get into a lot of trouble in a hurry here.
Well, I think he's got to decide here whether he's going to go after Will Clark with a fastball or whether he's going to try to trick him with a curveball.
If you're Will Clark, what are you saying?
Well, you have to look for the fastball. It doesn't matter. You look for the fastball and adjust to the curve. I think you'll get the fastball anyway.
Here comes runner going. He struck him out. Sasser throws to second. Safe. Butler gets the steal, but Gooden gets the strikeout.
And he just winds up and throws a fastball right by Will Clark, who is a good fastball hitter. This is just power against power, and Dwight Gooden wins this battle. Fastball right on the outside corner too. Sasser's throw is pretty good, but Butler is in safely. Butler just beats the tag by Howard Johnson. It was a 97-mile-an-hour fastball by Gooden.
Runner at second. Here's Mitchell, lined into center, but right to Boston. And just like that, the Giants are retired. So they get the leadoff hit, but they don't get anything else. And the Giants at the end of 5 are trailing 7-2 to the Mets. Back at Candlestick Park, where the Mets are leading 7-2, and Dwight Gooden, who's been one of the big hitters in that Mets batting order, takes a slider. Ball 1 from Rick Rodriguez. It is Gooden, and then the top of the order, Boston and Maggott. And Gooden is 2 for 2 in this game. 2 singles. And it's 2-1.
Well, you watch him, he looks like a hitter. He takes hitting seriously. A lot of pitchers do not really take their hitting seriously. Dwight Gooden does.
His nephew, Gary Sheffield of the Brewers, certainly takes his hitting seriously. He's hitting well over 300 for the Brewers. The 2 of them grew up together. They're almost like brothers. And he chases that slider for strike 3. Sheffield had a crazy injury, I was reading the other day, where he had to leave a ball game because he had his shoes on and they were tied too tightly. It caused some numbness in the back of his feet. He had to leave the ball game. I don't know if that's one of those things that happens too often.
No, I don't think so. I think you'd know if they were too tight.
Here's Darrell Boston. Fans keeping score here at Candlestick. When you come to a ball game, you've got to keep score.
Sometimes if you're the home team, you don't want to keep score, though. A game like today, you'd not like to write down 7 runs for the opposition.
Darrell Boston 0 for 3. He has a stolen base, however, and he has scored a run. Takes one of the dirt. 1 ball, 1 strike. 7-2. The Mets are ahead. We're in the 6th inning. When you come to a game and you keep score, you always know which hitters in which part of the batting order are up. You can do a little box seat managing with Roger Craig and Bud Harrelson.
You don't need a scorecard to be manager.
Well, if you're
going to second guess the manager.
If you're going to have any credibility when you second guess him, you got to have a scorecard there. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Dave Magadan is on deck.
I have a scorecard now, and I do it. I didn't when I didn't have one. I did it, so it didn't matter.
You kept score without a scorecard?
Yeah. I second guess the manager.
2-2 the
Did
count.
that sometimes even when I was playing.
Well, one thing a lot of people around the country might be saying, hey, why did Roger Craig stick with Lacoste for so long in an important ball game?
I think you have a lot of Giants fans wondering that. But knowing Roger as I do, he did have a reason. He probably did not want to get into the bullpen, and Lacoste has not pitched that much. He was on the disabled list, and he probably felt that he was strong. I just felt like he started to get the ball up too much, and he cannot pitch up. He has to get the sinker down.
3-2 pitch, and Darrell Boston has drawn a walk. 4th walk allowed by the Giants. 1 on, 1 out. Coming up on Friday, baseball tonight at 7:30. The battle of the American League Eastern Division continues. The Red Sox meet the Blue Jays. Some of you will see Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. And either way, you'll be seeing some of the best teams around. The Mets and also the Dodgers in the second game at 10:30 Eastern, or Philadelphia right here at San Francisco. It's a doubleheader. Great night of baseball beginning 7:30 Eastern on ESPN.
I guarantee you the Cincinnati people do not want to see Pittsburgh again. Not this quickly anyway.
Pittsburgh with a 4-game sweep at Cincinnati. And that's a ball in the dirt to Magadan. Magadan has 2 singles and a walk in this game. He's been all over those base paths.
Now, I saw in the paper today where one of my former teammates, Ken Griffey, retired from the Reds yesterday. Ken Griffey, former teammate, real good hitter. In fact, I've always said he was the best fastball hitter that I'd ever, seen in my whole career. I never saw anyone who could hit the fastball as well as he could. In, out, up, or down. He didn't care.
Boston back to first. He said, so what are your immediate plans? And he said, my immediate plans are to fly to New York and see my son play at Yankee Stadium. I guess he had that opportunity today. That's a ball outside.
Actually, the move's a little surprising to me because he was a veteran on a team that doesn't have playoff experience and doesn't have experience going down the stretch. And I thought he was one settling voice in that clubhouse because they were having a lot of problems with the umpires. And he finally said, hey, let's forget about the umpires and play baseball. And you need someone every once in a while to do that other than the manager. Sometimes you need a player to calm you down. So I felt like he offered that for the Reds. But I must admit, last week when I saw him, he wasn't exactly happy.
That's a foul ball.
I don't think it was from lack of playing time or anything. I think he just wasn't happy with himself and with what was going on.
2-1 the count to Dave Magadan. Darrell Boston at first. We're in the 6th inning. The Mets 7, the Giants 2.
He was from the same town as Stan Musial, Pennsylvania.
Donora, Pennsylvania.
Donora, Pennsylvania.
And again, back to first is Boston. Greg Jeffries is on deck. Mets 7, Giants 2. Had a little chat with Al Rosen, the fine general manager of the Giants, before the game. I said, who do you like in the East? And he thought about it a good long while. And then he said, I like the Mets. He feels that as they pitch out, Boston not running though, 3-1 the count. He just feels that with as much starting pitching as the Mets have down the stretch, and as much hitting as they have, with these guys going well right now, particularly Magadan, Jeffries, and Strawberry, it's hard to go against the Mets.
Well, I think most baseball people will always favor pitching. They will always favor the team with the best pitching staff, which the Mets have. But there are a lot of intangibles, and I think the Pirates have a lot of positive intangibles on their side.
That's a base hit for Magadan, his 3rd of the game. Over to third goes Boston. He's going to be waved home. Here's the relay to Uribe. He'll hold on to it. A double for Magadan and a run batted in, and it is 8-2 Mets.
It was a hit and run. Boston was running with the pitch, And Magnan was trying to hit the hole at shortstop, so he's going to try to hit the ball to the left side. The ball's away, and he just reaches out and pokes it down the left field line. He didn't really have to do a lot with that pitch since it was away from him. If it would have been inside, he would have had to try to guide it over there, but the ball was down and away, a perfect spot for him to go to left field with it.
Dave Magadan, 3 for 3, is now hitting .337 for the year. Here's Jeffries. A strike. Jeffries is 1 for 3 with a double and a run batted in. He's hitting .303. We're .305 now. Runner at second, 1 out. And that's a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. It's Giants bullpen situation. We're talking about Lacoste being left in there to take a beating, and now here's a fellow, a journeyman who's been around a long time with different ball clubs being brought up. Giants bullpen is in tough shape right now. They got deep into that bullpen yesterday. That's a foul, and it is 1-2 to Jeffries. But also the ace of that bullpen, Brantley, is hurting right now.
Well, actually, I think the Giants' whole pitching staff is in a little bit of disarray, but if there's anyone that can figure it out, it is Roger Craig. But you have to look at what they did yesterday. Trevor Wilson is now in the bullpen. He had been one of their saviors. He came up in the middle of the season and did a great job of winning, 5 or 6 ball games in a row. And he's already won 8. So he had done a good job. But the last 2 times out, he has struggled. And if there's one thing that Roger Craig likes, it is veterans on the mound. He likes a veteran pitching staff going down the stretch. So what he's done now is take Kelly Downs out of the rotation. He has taken Trevor Wilson out of the rotation and inserted Trevor Downs, who is a veteran. Kelly Downs, Trevor Wilson's out, Kelly Downs in.
They got him hung up. Magadan hung up. Uribe to Thompson. Now to Williams, and they tag him out. Back to first base, and safe. They almost got them both. Jeffries almost caught wandering off of first base. Strange base running there by Magadan.
Well, when a ball is hit in front of you and you're on second base, the rule of thumb is you stay. See, the ball's hit in front of him. He should be going back automatically. You only try to advance to third if the ball is hit behind you. The Giants do a good job of only making 2 throws. And then they take a shot at first base, but Jeffries got back in time.
So Magadan back to the bench, sitting with Mackey Sasser. Here's Strawberry, strike 1.
That's the only thing that Magadan has done wrong today.
Well, Don Zement has done some checking for us. Magadan has lifted his average to .337. Dykstra now at .344. McGee .339. Magadan's right there.
Well, I think if you look at it realistically, though, you have to favor Dykstra and McGee. McGee because he's a switch hitter and he runs very well. Dykstra because he plays on AstroTurf. And he uses the AstroTurf so well. He hits a lot of ground balls that go through the infield in Philadelphia. He's become a very good ground ball hitter. Magadan has to hit line drives. He doesn't run as well as the other 2 guys either.
Base hit just off the glove of Will Clark. And Jeffries will hold at second base. Second straight base hit for Strawberry. He's 2 for 4. Darryl Strawberry, we talked about earlier, him being the
straw that stirs the drink.
I didn't say that. He's the straw that stirs the Mets.
Okay.
Now look at that in the month of June. 27 RBIs for Strawberry. The Mets won 21. 21 RBIs in July. 17 wins. Those have been their 2 best months. And look who was there with the big RBI total in each case. Now here's Howard Johnson. He's 1 for 2 with a walk and a double. Ball 1. Actually, Strawberry for the season with 78 RBIs. And Howard Johnson, who's had really a bad year for him, he's got 70 RBIs.
Well, when it's a bad year, though, John, you have to realize he got off to a great start. He had quite a few home runs and RBIs early. Then he struggled. Now he's starting to pick it up again, so now his RBI totals are still up pretty high as far as the rest of the league is concerned.
Howard Johnson. There's Strawberry at first base. Jeffries at second. 2 down. A run is in. The Mets are leading 8-2 now. Howard Johnson, 29 years of age, hit 36 home runs last year. Toward the middle, Robbie Thompson can't hold it. Into center field, rounding third, Jeffries. He'll score. Strawberry goes to third. Looked like Thompson was going to grab that one for the out, but instead another run has scored, and it is 9-2 Mets.
Robbie Thompson has a bad back, and he doesn't bend over sometimes. The ball is up the middle. It looks like he's going to get there. See, right there, but he doesn't bend quite low enough. And the ball's off the end of his glove.
So a base hit for Howard Johnson at his 71st RBI of the year. He drove in 101 runs last year. And there's a ball to the villain of the piece as far as the Giants are concerned. Kevin McReynolds, 2 homers, 5 batted in. Bullpen activity. Veteran left-hander Mark Thurman will start warming up now for the Giants. First and third, 2 down. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Mets have scored in each of the last 4 innings. And they have scored and scored and scored. McReynolds up in the 4th, a 2-run homer. In the 5th, a 3-run homer. And now here he is in the 6th with 2 men out. Remember, strike 2. His all-time career record for RBIs in a game is 6. A big stretch run from McReynolds would certainly help the Mets cause. And the ball 2. I suppose when you look at how the Mets have done when Strawberry has carried them, that also says something a little bit about the fact that when he hasn't been hot, McReynolds and maybe Johnson and some of the others have not stepped forward to fill that gap.
Well, I think that was very evident the first half of the season that McReynolds had not stepped forward.
2-2 pitch, fouled away.
There were even discussions about trading him, earlier in the season. So I don't think there's any doubt that Darryl Strawberry is very, very important to the Mets cause. He's got some of those high top shoes on as well.
These are becoming all the rage with the Mets now. Mitchell's got it for the Giants, and Strawberry's wearing it. That's a ball, 3-2.
Pretty soon they'll have Bill Glass high top shoes.
Yeah. Hey, that looks like a guy who goes out and plays hard and gets dirty out there. Looks like a guy who means business.
Or the guy that maybe wants to go in with Mike Tyson.
There goes the runner from first. Johnson up the middle, base hit for McReynolds, and that is his 6th RBI. And over to third base goes Hojo. McReynolds has equaled his career record. 6 runs batted in. He's driven all 6 of them in the last 3 innings. And it is 10-2 New York. And here comes Roger Craig. Big night for Kevin McReynolds.
When it rains, it pours. If you're the Giants, all the ground balls find holes, and the other ones, you hang something and they hit it over the wall.
Hey, this is a flash flood we've got going here now. 3 more runs in for the Mets. They scored 4 in the 5th. They scored 2 in the 4th and 1 in the 3rd. And here is Mark Thurman getting the call, or perhaps being offered as another sacrifice to the Mets bats here. 10-2. We'll tell you about Thurman when we return. Rather subdued right now as the hometown ball club is getting clobbered by the Mets. 10-2 New York. Mark Thurman is on now to face Kelvin Torby, and it's foul. Runners at first and third. Johnson at third. McReynolds at first as Thurman comes on.
Well, Mark Thurman is a guy that the Giants use in long relief most of the time, but now they're running out of pitchers in the bullpen, and I just think that, as you said, he's the guy that's going to have to go out and pitch for 2 or 3 innings now. Doesn't really matter whether he gets guys out or not. He's going to have to stay out there for a little while, unless the Giants mount a big scoring threat when he comes to bat.
Look out. Torby hits the deck right over his head. A ball and a strike.
The funny thing about all this, Torby doesn't even have a hit. He's probably saying, why me? This fastball's right at his helmet. I'm sure it was not intentional.
Torby's 0 for 3. He's flied out twice and fouled the third once. So a 1-1 pitch on the way. inside again. Ball 2. The base runners, you've got Howard Johnson over third base. He had singled. And McReynolds now with 6 RBIs in this one at first base. The Giants have the Blues here in August. Only 6 and 11 for the month. That's fouled back. The Giants have had a complete breakdown. They're not hitting. The team average is only .219. And they're not pitching. The pitching, the ERA is 4.8.
And that's only 2/3 of the story. The other part is they're not fielding as well as they were earlier before August. So it's been, as you said, a total breakdown.
Not hitting, not pitching, not fielding.
Will get you some losses.
That's right. Not winning. That's curved him but missed. Ball 3. 3-2. Thurman, veteran lefty, used to be with the Padres, was in the '84 series with the Padres and went to Detroit. Spent a couple of years in Baltimore with the Orioles. He saw the agony and the ecstasy in Baltimore, the 21-game losing streak in '88, and then their resurgence last year, now with the Giants. McReynolds running from first as Torvey looks at ball 4, and the bases are loaded. Is there no end to this? The 9th man to bat in the inning will be Mackey Sasser. Bases loaded and 2 down, 3 runs in. Rodriguez went 1 1/3 innings. He gave up 3 runs and 4 hits and a walk, and is responsible for 2 of these base runners. And here's Sasser, who is also 0 for 3 in this one, although he's hit the ball hard a couple of times. Mackey Sasser. Mets ball club, you talk about that pitching and the starting pitching with all those fine starters. They lead the league in runs scored. They lead the league in home runs. It wasn't too long ago when we were at Shea Stadium, July the 29th, we saw Sasser with the bases loaded against the Cardinals, and he hit one out, a grand slam. That's a strike on the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. 10-2 the Mets. The Mets were swept here the first time they came to town, and then they lost the first game here Friday night with Viola on the mound. But they blasted the Giants yesterday, and they're doing it even more so tonight. Up the middle, and Thurman is able to spear it. And at long last, this inning has come to an end. 3 more runs, 4 more hits, and 3 left. 10-2 New York. Yeah, Grass Valley loves ESPN. Sunday night baseball from Candlestick. 10-2, the Mets are out in front. We've seen the power of the Mets, and particularly Kevin McReynolds. And Joe, next week we'll see some of the great power hitters in the game this year. Fielder, Canseco, McGuire will be in Detroit.
Well, I think McGuire is one of the hottest swinging hitters in the American League right now. He and Fielder, so that could be quite a contest. But I don't think Canseco is going to let him outdo him there.
39 homers for Fielder, 34 for Canseco, 32 for McGuire, all in the same ballpark, in that friendly home run ballpark.
Very small ballpark in Detroit, especially to left field.
Canseco's hit 34, and he's missed 25 games this year. That's our matchup next week. The Oakland Athletics, the champions of the world, and currently with the best record in the majors this year, at Detroit. Tigers have been much improved over last year, although the veteran Jack Morris kind of tore into the front office this week. He had some very harsh words toward the Tiger front office. Said this club needs changes in many of them. Well, then he went out in his next start and pitched a shutout.
That was a change.
Jack Morris. He's one of those guys. It's still fun to watch him. When he pitches,
yes,
you want to be there.
Well, he's been a quality pitcher for so many years. You know that he knows what he's doing when he walks on the mound.
Just like this guy, Dwight Gooden. Gooden's had a struggle tonight, but he's got a big lead. The batter, Matt Williams, with 1 strike, and there's a ball. Matt has singled and doubled. Dwight has not been able to figure him out yet. Gooden has now thrown 84 pitches, by the way. But he's leading 10-2. And the Mets often get Dwight a lot of runs like this, as we saw earlier. Check swing. It's a ball. 2-1. The Mets appeal to the first base umpire, Ron Barnes.
It was funny, you were talking earlier about Dwight Gooden and Ramon Martinez getting great support. Well, Martinez only had 1 run today, lost 2-1. So Dwight, I'm sure, is going to move further ahead of him as far as runs produced for him.
And it's ball 3. Kennedy on deck, then Thompson. 10-2 Mets in the last of the 6th. Yeah, the Dodgers lost a tough one today to Montreal. Eddie Murray has had a great stretch run. You know, Murray hasn't been in the pennant race for a while, both with the Orioles and then with the Dodgers last year. He was always one of the great money players when it came to August and September in the race. There's ball 4 to Williams. The 4th walk allowed by Gooden. And it brings up Terry Kennedy. And Eddie has been putting on a show the last few weeks for the Dodgers. He has emerged into the batting leaders and also the RBI leaders.
Well, the Dodgers have a very fine pitching staff, so they have an opportunity to throw 5 or 6, 7 games in a row together, as long as they get some offense from guys like Murray, Brooks, and Cal Daniels, and Gibson. He's been swinging the bat well too. So it looks like they're in the best position they've been in all year to make a run. They've got some hot bats and some good pitchers.
That's right. You got I mean, Gibson's been once he got back has put together some good numbers, hitting ahead of the likes of Daniels and Murray, then Brooks, and they got that platoon going. Sharperson and Lenny Harris, who both hit around 300. Stan Javier stayed up around 300, the former Oakland A's player. 1-0 to Kennedy. Into left center field for a base hit. Matt Williams will stop at second base, and Terry Kennedy is 2 for 3 with a couple of RBIs. We got a lot of time yet for a lot of things to happen in this ball game. The Giants are way behind, but we still got a couple of at-bats coming for the Clarks and the Mitchells and the Williamses yet.
Well, they have to do it either this inning and the next inning to get close, because you do not want to go into the late innings thinking you have to make up 5 or 6 runs against the Mets when they have the likes of John Franco in their bullpen. So you have to do it before they can get to Franco.
Here's Robbie Thompson. He's been hit by a pitch, and he is grounded out to short. 10-2. The Mets are out in front here. The Giants with 2 on, nobody out. And he swung at that hard-breaking ball. 1 strike. When you're down by 8 runs, if you're Roger Craig, you'd like to see him maybe not swing at bad balls like that.
Well, exactly, especially against a guy like Gooden. You cannot hit bad pitches off of Dwight Gooden. But the thing the Giants have to do is not try to get back all at once. Get a couple of base hits there, a couple of base hits there. Just close the gap a little bit.
1 strike to count. Bullpen activity for the Giants. That one is out of play, off to the right. 0-2 to Robbie Thompson. Thompson's always been a hacker himself, hasn't he? I mean, he's very aggressive.
Well, he strikes out quite a bit.
There's the Giants bullpen. Francisco Olivares is warming up out there. Right-hander. Two strikes the count. Uribe is on deck. Then the pitcher's spot. You after him. Williams at second. Kennedy at first. And here it comes. Half swing foul. Well, the Mets are getting the bullpen busy, as you see Bud Harrelson and Mel Stottlemyre talking things over. There's Bobby Ojeda, veteran left-hander.
An all-around fine pitcher. He can start for you. He can middle relief. He can even get a couple of guys out in short relief if he has to.
Gooden tries again. And that sharp breaking ball is in the dirt. 1-2. Really cooling off now. Seems like all summer long in San Francisco, along about 4 o'clock or so, the fog starts rolling in through the Golden Gate over the coastal hills, and you see Gooden now has thrown a lot of pitches, and a lot of them out of the strike zone so far. 92 pitches, and it will roll in over the hills behind Candlestick here. It's cold and windy. It can be a real tough place to play at nighttime. And we're heading into the evening now here. This is about the time they would ordinarily start a night game here. Curveball. Strike 3 call. Robbie Thompson, who now is being patient, and he's out on strikes.
Well, Robbie thought the pitch was low, but you can see it. Watch him buckle. He thinks it's a fastball. Watch him See, that little buckle right there says, I can't swing, and when you do that, you're going to be out most of the time.
Ring him up. The 5th strikeout for Dwight Gooden, the 5th K for Dr. K. And here is Jose Uribe, who has singled, stolen a base, and who also has been one of those strikeout victims. The pitcher's spot is due up next, and Ernest Riles has come out into the on-deck circle. 2 on and 1 out now in the 6th inning. Ball 1. 10-2, the Mets lead the Giants. There's Riles, who would pinch hit for Thurmond. 13 hits for the Mets, 6 hits for the Giants. And that's outside. 2-0 the count. This is what the manager likes to see when his club's down. Take some pitches. Be patient.
And it's exactly what Bud Harrelson does not want to see. He wants Dwight to throw nothing but strikes. Make him put the ball in play.
Yeah, that one is a ball. That was a close one. 3-0. It looked like Gooden was very pleased with that call. Neither was Bud Harrelson. Harrelson had to leave 34 passes yesterday, by the way. He's from Hayward across the bay. Now Stottlemyre looks a little perplexed. You see him shaking his head there. Here's the 3-0 pitch. That's a strike. Your worldwide international headquarters for your business are over in Hayward too, right, Joe?
Yeah.
So I grew up in Hayward.
Yeah. You were telling me that. I didn't know you were from this area.
First time I've ever worked a game at Candlestick Park. 3-1 pitch is low, and the Giants have the bases loaded with 1 out, and the pinch hitter Riles is coming up. Bobby Ojeda continues to heat up in the left field bullpen.
I don't think Ojeda's had time enough to get as loose as Bud Harrelson wants him. I think he's going to at least give Dwight 1 more batter, if not 2.
So here's Riles, bases loaded. The Giants a chance here to chip away at that Mets lead. It is 10-2 the Mets. Riles is hitting .214 for the year, but he is 9 for 27 as a pinch hitter, with 2 home runs as a pinch hitter. Ball 1, and Gooden again starts behind.
Well, he looks like he's trying to reach back and get that little extra right now. And Sasser's going to go out and take a little time, as well as Mel Stottlemyre coming out. I think they want to make sure they give Ojeda time enough to get loose in the bullpen.
With Gooden out there, and you get 10 runs early in a game, looks like a good night to get the bullpen some rest. Ojeda continues to heat up in the bullpen. We got a camera right down there with him.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be in the bullpen when those guys warm up. So, ESPN cameraman's putting us right down there. All right, here's Gooden with a 1-0 pitch. Riles hits a high fly ball deep into right field. Back goes Strawberry. Gone! A grand slam for Ernest Riles. 10-6 the Mets lead.
Well, Ernest Riles is a good low fastball hitter, and Gooden gets a fastball down, and he golfs it right out of here. Watch this pitch, down low, right above the knees. And there was no doubt about it. Once he made contact, he knew the ball was gone. And Dwight Gooden, he knows it's gone right there, too.
Yeah, it's going. 10-6. We'll be back. It is 10-6 now. On one swing of Ernest Riles' bat, the Giants have cut that 8-run Mets lead in half. And here is Bobby Ojeda facing leadoff man Brett Butler. It's a ball outside. Ernest Riles with a pinch hit grand slam, his second career grand slam. He hit one last year, and his third pinch hit home run of this season. He's been the pinch hitter deluxe for the Giants. That's a strike on the outside. Bobby Ojeda, the veteran lefty, been in and out of the rotation this year, and he's in the bullpen right now.
Well, Ojeda, as I mentioned, is a very fine pitcher. He can come out of the pen, he can start, he can do a lot of things for you. Features a changeup. It takes a lot off of a lot of pitches. Changeups and slider. That's a good slider on the outside corner right there. Not a lot of fastballs. He uses his changeups and his breaking pitches to set up the fastball.
Ojeda's had great success as a reliever. His ERA out of the bullpen this year, 1.64. As a starter, 4.59. The 1-2 pitch. That's a little looper along the left field line. Could be trouble. It falls. A base hit. Butler around first, and he'll hold there as Howard Johnson picks it up. Wow, he just kind of threw the bat at that one and blooped it in.
Well, a lot of hitters that stay on the baseball a long time can flip the ball the other way. It's a slider breaking down and away from Ojeda. See, Ojeda throws the sliders, breaks down and away. Butler kind of throws the bat at it and gets a piece of it. A lot of times you just foul this ball off when you throw the bat at it, but he got just enough of it to get it out on the outfield grass safely.
Brett Butler has reached base 3 straight times now with a walk and 2 singles. He stole a base back in the 5th inning after singling. And now a pinch hitter is going to come up for Mike Kingery. It'll be Greg Litton. Litton, a right-handed hitter. Kingery went 0 for 3 while he was in there. Well, what a wild ride this has started out to be.
Yes, it is. Well, we knew that at the beginning of the ball game, that both teams have the potential to score a lot of runs. As you mentioned, the Mets lead the league in runs scored, and the Giants are capable of scoring a lot of runs themselves. And usually you say no lead is safe. That's usually a cliche, but I think in this situation it is not.
All right, then I'll say it.
All right.
No lead is safe with this Giants ball club. There. And back to first is Butler. Litton, the pinch hitter. By the way, tomorrow is the anniversary of Ernest Riles' first grand slam. August the 20th against Philadelphia. Last year he hit one, and that was a pinch hit.
I bet he doesn't know that.
Back to first easily. He is Butler. Ernest Riles. What a dramatic swing of the bat that was. He had never had a hit against Dwight Gooden before.
Well, usually Dwight Gooden throws a high fastball, and he is a low fastball hitter. He doesn't hit the high fastball. So that doesn't surprise me.
They made a double switch, by the way. There is Orlando Mercado. He's the new catcher with the pitcher spot due to lead it off in the 7th. Put Mercado in the 9th spot in the order. He'll lead it off and put Ojeda in the number 8 spot in place of Mackie Sasser. So he'll be due up 9th the next time around. Almost threw that one away. 1 strike to count to Greg Litton. Will Clark is on deck. There's only 1 out of the inning. Litton would like to get on base and set the table for Clark here. And the Giants are really being business. 10-6 in the 6th. The Mets are ahead. There's that changeup outside. A ball and a strike. What was that game last year? Remember the Giants late in the season were trailing somewhere 8-0, and Roger Craig unloaded his bench in the 7th and 8th inning, and they came back and won that ball game.
I'm not sure, but I think it was against the Astros.
That's a ball outside. 2-1 to Litton. Here's Roger Craig. Bob Lillis, one of his lieutenants, alongside. Craig's he's going with the passing game in this one, playing catch-up. Going with this Dan Marino offense now. Ball 3. 3-1. The big guys are coming up. Clark's next, then Mitchell, then Williams. Bud Harrelson said it was never like this with Seaver and Kuzman and my guys back in the 60s. Roger Craig maybe say, hey, it was like this all the time in '62 with the Mets. Caught the inside corner. 3-2 to Litton. Now the Giants have made a big comeback in this inning. They were down 10-2. It's now 10-6. But 4 runs is still a large deficit.
Yes, it is when you're in the 6th inning. And you know that John Franco is in the bullpen. That almost takes the 9th inning out, so you've got to do it right away. You can't look for a fastball in this situation because Ojeda will throw anything.
Into the hole, fielded there by Maggott, and they get 1, and they get 2. Turned nicely by Jeffries at second base. And Will Clark will not get a shot here in the 6th inning. So the Giants will have to settle for the 4 at the end of 6. Mets 10, Giants 6. Now they roll age relief break, and there's a look at the leaders. Eckersley still ahead over in the American League. 2 wins and 38 saves, only 1 blown save. Bobby Thigpen 4 wins but 5 losses, 39 saves, but he's blown 6. And then in the National League, we're talking about John Franco. He is well ahead of the competition. The former Mets reliever, Randy Myers of the Reds, 3-3, 24 saves but 4 blown saves, and Franco 27 out of 30 in the save column. Changes for the Giants as we go to the 7th. Greg Litton stays in the game to play right field. The new catcher, Gary Carter, comes on for Terry Kennedy, and he'll hit in Kennedy's number 6 spot in the batting order. And Francisco Olivares is on the pitch now, the 4th Giants pitcher, in relief of Mark Thurmond. And Orlando Mercado will lead it off for the Mets, and he takes a called strike. 7th inning, 10-6. The Mets are out in front. Joe, we're trying to remember, it was Cincinnati last September. The Giants were down 8-0. That's a strike. They took out Will Clark and all of the regulars. Roger Craig brought in the bench. I think Mike Laga hit a couple of home runs, and they won that ball game 9-8. And then also last year they were down 7-0 to the Dodgers in September, and came back to win that one 8-7. That is outside for a ball. I remember when the Giants, one of their early games here in San Francisco, I think it was against Pittsburgh, they were trailing in the bottom of the 9th inning 11-1.
Oh yeah.
And they scored 9 times. Yeah. I think after 2 were down.
Yeah, they didn't quite get the 10 they needed, but I remember that ball game as well.
And Mazeroski made an incredible catch on a pop-up or something like that to end the game. And this is a franchise that has had a long history of great offense. Back to the days of Mays, McCovey, Cepeda, Felipe Alou. That's fouled back by Mercado. 1 ball, 2 strikes to count. The Giants won it in 1962, and talk about a murderer's row. Mays hit 49 homers that year. Cepeda hit 35. They had so much offense in that club, McCovey only played part-time. Matty Alou was on the bench. They had a great power-hitting catching platoon. Over at third, Matt Williams, and he throws out Mercado. There is 1 away in the 7th inning. Right after the ball game, we'll have Sports Center, so don't go anywhere. All of the day's Major League Baseball highlights, an NFL preview of the Los Angeles Raiders, and also a conversation with Carlton Fisk, who put himself at the top of the list. He now has hit more home runs than any catcher. And I'm talking about home runs in games while he was catching. 1 ahead of Johnny Bench. And Fisk said something I think that was awfully, it put it all in perspective, too, as Boston takes a curve for ball one. He said, hey, the names at the top of that list were Johnny Bench and Yogi Berra. That makes that record mean something.
Well, I agree. It's a very, it's a big record to be proud of because both of those guys are in the Hall of Fame.
Gary Carter is also among those fellows. 285 homers as a catcher. 2-1 the count to Boston. Boston 0 for 3 with a walk. Carter's had a pretty good year for the Giants. 10-6. The Mets ahead in the 7th inning. That's a pop-up. Uribe at shortstop. Out number 2. Well, can it be that at long last Roger Craig has found a relief pitcher and get somebody out here?
Should have started him, huh?
The starter, Mike LaCosse, he got beat up mostly by Kevin McReynolds. He didn't do too badly against everybody else, but McReynolds did him in with a couple of homers, a 2-run shot and a 3-run shot. McReynolds has driven in 6 of the Mets' 10. Here's Magadan. He's had a big night. 3 for 3, a walk, a double, and a run batted in. It's a strike. Giants later on, Willie McCovey did get some playing time. We're talking about him being a part-time player in 62. That's a strike.
Got enough to hit over 500 home runs.
He got a few at-bats later on. They traded Cepeda to the Cardinals.
And he became an MVP.
Led them to a couple of World Series.
I saw Cepeda. He was at the ballpark today. He works for the Giants.
2-strike pitch outside. The baby bull.
He could hit.
The Mets third base coach was on that 62 ball club, Chuck Hiller. Over at third base in the coaching lines right now. Hiller, part of the Miller, Hiller, Haller, Hallelujah twist with that year's club. In the dirt, they had Stu Miller in the bullpen, Tom Haller, a catcher. And this man, Chuck Hiller, played second base every day, and then in the World Series that year became the first National Leaguer ever to hit a grand slam in a World Series. He did it at Yankee Stadium. Chuck Hiller.
He's done a great job with Jeffries, too. I think you can see the immediate results from him working with Greg Jeffries at second base. He's become a much better defensive player.
Over the mound, here is Robbie Thompson. That spin move, throws out Magadan. They get him for the first time, and they get the Mets in order for the first time. Seems like for the first time in about a week. We go to the last of the 7th. Clark, Mitchell, and Williams coming up. 10-6 Mets. It's last of the 7th inning. Candlestick Park, the House of Thrills. Is speaking of which, Will the Thrill leads it off for the Giants and fouls one away against Bobby Ojeda. Big crowd at Candlestick. I want to remind you now, Sports Center will be coming along right after the ball game with all of the day's highlights, an NFL preview of the LA Raiders, and a conversation with Carlton Fisk. It'll be right after the game. We'll take you to Sports Center. Bob Lee and Dan Patrick are busily preparing an Emmy-winning report, I believe, tonight. Will Clark, he has walked, grounded out, and struck out. Ojeda delivers. Ball 2. Bullpen activity for the Mets, even as the Giants come to bat in the 7th, trailing 10-6. Because after Clark, you've got Mitchell, then Williams, and then Carter, and there is Alejandro Pena, the veteran right-hander, warming up. 2-1 pitch. Swinging a foul right back to the screen.
What was a laugher has become a chess game for Bud Harrelson now, because what he's trying to do is figure a way to get to John Franco. So he figures maybe he'll get an inning or so out of Pena, and out of Ojeda, and then he can bring Pena in for an inning, and then he's got John Franco ready in case he needs him. It's a little early right now. If the Giants were to mount an attack here, score even 3 runs, I don't think he could bring John Franco in at this time. So he's got to figure a way to get to Franco, and that's where a manager earns his pay, especially when this was a laugher for him.
3-2 pitch on the way. A high fly ball. And McReynolds, because he doesn't know where it is. It falls. It'll go for extra bases. 2 bases for Clark. What a break for the Giants.
I don't know how he lost it. It wasn't in the lights. Maybe he just lost it against the sky, but the lights do not have any effect on a ball hit that high.
In the twilight, I guess.
Yeah, you can see he doesn't know where it is. He's asking. And the ball bounces behind him. Will Clark was hustling all the way, so he went in the second with a double. Right there, he says, I don't know. He looks for help, and then he sees it at the last second. I think the mistake he made was looking for help. No one can help him way out there.
Alejandro Pena in the bullpen was his closest teammate. Here's Mitchell. Will Clark gets a double, and it's ball 1 to Mitchell.
Good hitters get those kind of breaks. Hey, you never see a 220 hitter get a fly ball lost in the twilight.
Will Clark with his 17th double of the year. Mitchell is 0 for 2. And he just caught the outside corner, did Ojeda. 1 ball, 1 strike. 10-6, the Mets over the Giants. And here's Mitchell. 47 homers last year. He's got 26 already this year, but he hasn't hit one in 3 weeks. Tonight he is lined to third, walked, and lined to center. Here comes. Changeup.
That's his best pitch. Good changeup to the right-handed hitters. Not only is it off speed, but it moves away from the right-handed hitter.
Matt Williams is on deck. The outfield is deep. And pinching towards center field. McReynolds to the left and Strawberry and right, both playing well off their respective foul lines. The infield is backed up all the way around for Kevin Mitchell. The 1-2 pitch. Change up again. Little dribbler. Ojeda can't get it. Magadan bare hand pickup. Safe. It's all going the way of the Giants now. The pop-up that should have been caught that was lost, and a little dribbler for a base hit.
I think Kevin Mitchell could smell this when he was flying down the line. This is a great play by Magadan. He doesn't get him. He has to run around Will Clark. Good play by Clark. He barehands it, fires on the move, but Kevin Mitchell beats it at first base. And I think we're going to see Alejandro Pena come in to pitch to Matt Williams.
Well, Matt Williams has 2 home runs against Ojeda in 8 career at-bats. And a home run now makes this a 1-run game.
I don't think Ojeda's going to be real happy with this. He says, I did my job. They hit a pop-up and a weak ground ball, and I'm out of here.
I got 2 outs in this inning, and instead I've got all kinds of trouble. So the Mets defense unable to handle a couple of balls here, although Magadan had a heck of a play.
He made a good play. You have to give Will Clark credit on that ball, too, because Will Clark cut in front of him and made Magadan take 1 extra step around him.
Matt Williams coming up. Don't go anywhere. Sunday night baseball from San Francisco, the defending National League champion Giants and the Mets in Owawa. This is John Miller along with Joe Morgan, and Alejandro Pena comes out in a tight spot here. The former Dodger. He's not having a real strong season either for his new ball club.
You're right. He has not been as effective as he normally has been in his career coming out of the bullpen. He once led the National League in earned run average. That was before he had arm problems, but now he is not getting guys out like he had in the past.
You saw Clark at third. There's Mitchell at first. Nobody is out. And here is Matt Williams, the Giants' RBI leader. He has singled and doubled and walked tonight. He's hit 2 homers in this series before tonight, including a 3-run shot Friday night against Viola. Williams, second in the National League in RBIs. He has 93 for the year. So this is his kind of a situation. Clark and Mitchell aboard. The infield double play dead. And the pitch on the way. In for a called strike.
Pena has a good moving fastball. It tails a little bit into the right-handed hitter, and he throws a good slider. Those are the 2 pitches that he normally works with. He also has a changeup. I don't think he will use it very much in this situation. He'll go with the hard stuff, the good fastball and the good slider.
We're in the 7th inning. Both bullpens are busy. A right-hander throwing for the Mets and a right-hander throwing for the Giants. The 1-strike pitch on the way. Way outside, a good save by Orlando Mercado. He had to react quickly to that one.
Steve Bedrosian's in the bullpen for the Giants.
And Wally Whitehurst is warming up for the Mets. Here's Bedrosian, bedrock. Got the save here Friday night against the Mets. 2 strong innings. Last of the 7th, it is 10-6. The Mets are ahead, but at one time, it was 10-2 Mets. Ernest Riles did some serious damage to that Mets lead with a pinch hit grand slammer in the 6th inning against Dwight Gooden, who in 5 1/3 innings gave up 6 runs and 7 hits. Ojeda went 2/3 of an inning, gave up 3 hits, and is responsible for these 2 runners. Here's the 1-1 pitch from Pena. Swing and a miss, strike 2.
It's another good fastball from Pena. Good high fastball. Has a very easy motion, and then the ball seems to explode on you.
Well, last year, Pena, a 2.13 ERA out of the Mets bullpen, out of the Dodgers bullpen. In fact, the last 2 years, very strong.
Very strong.
Out of the Dodgers bullpen. A ball and 2 strikes to Williams. A little bit low.
That's actually the pitch that he wanted Williams to go after. A good sinking fastball and hopefully get the ground ball. They will concede the run, of course, to get a double play.
Pena, 30 years of age. He's from the Dominican Republic. Always a Dodger until this year. The 2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out of the high fastball. That's a big one.
Well, he tried the sinker. He wouldn't bite, so he went upstairs with the fastball. That's a good job of pitching. Do not throw a strike after you get 2 strikes on the hitter. See, this pitch is up, and he's a little tardy on it, too. The ball's by him before he gets there. He's upset, but the pitcher made a good pitch. Sometimes you have to give a pitcher credit. He got behind in the count, and he finally chased one out of the strike zone.
And this is interesting, Joe, because Carter actually, unless something was wrong with Kennedy, I mean, why did Carter come into the game when he did?
Well, Kennedy has had a bad back for the last 3 weeks, so I think that's what was troubling him. Remember when he went into second on the double, he kind of stretched his back a lot. So I think that's the reason he came out of the ball game. They were not sure he could score from second on a base hit, so he came out of the game.
So here's Carter, the former Met. Curveball outside. There's Matt Williams still fuming on the bench there. He's a hacker, too. He's only walked 22 times all year. He struck out 105. He really wanted some RBIs there. He's having a little conversation with himself there.
That happens quite a bit.
Here's the kid. Gary Carter trying to deliver Clark from third. Mitchell at first. Popped him up. Mercado has room. And that's the second out. Carter is now 4 for his last 44. A terrible slump in the month of August. 2 down. Here's Robbie Thompson. Last chance for the Giants to make something out of this. It started out very nicely. Clark with the pop fly double that was lost in the gloaming by the left fielder McReynolds, and then the infield hit by Mitchell. But Pena has come on to calm things down considerably.
Well, we knew he was capable of getting a job done, but he just had not been doing such a good job lately.
Robbie.
And if the Giants fail to score here, you know, it's going to be awfully tough to make up that difference in the 8th and the 9th.
10-6, the Mets. The breaking ball is high. Bud Harrelson.
I think he's feeling a little bit better about the situation now than he was when he went out there to take Ojeda out.
And we got Matt Williams, and Williams has been the big man for the Giants. Mets have played just about 500 since the All-Star break. That's into left center field. That's going to be a base hit. Coming in to score is Clark. Mitchell will stop at second as Boston comes up with it. And Robbie Thompson delivers with a clutch 2-out hit. And now it is 10-7 with Uribe coming up.
Well, Robbie Thompson, when he makes contact, he's one of the better clutch hitters around. This is a fastball away, and he goes out and gets it. And really a good pitch by Pena. Just a good job of hitting. As I said, you have to give the pitchers credit sometimes. And in this case, you have to give Robbie Thompson credit because he went out and got Alejandro Pena's good pitch and hit it in the left center field for a base hit.
Thompson now 4 for 8 against Pena in his career. Here's Uribe. He has singled, struck out. He's walked and scored a run. 2 on, 2 out. 10-7. That is foul and will go back out of play. 0-1. The pitcher's spot, you up next, and Bill Bave, a catcher, has come out into the on-deck circle. The Mets, a run in the 3rd, 2 in the 4th, 4 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th, at which time they led 10-2. The Giants, 2 in the 4th, 4 in the 6th, and now 1 in the 7th. It is 10-7. 2 on, Mitchell at second, and Thompson at first. And they're doing the Uribe chant again. A ball, 1-1. You see Uribe put up the stop sign for the benefit of Mitchell at second. Bud Harrelson.
We're seeing the mood swings of a manager. Earlier in the ball game, he was laughing, having a pretty good time over there when they had a 10-2 lead. Now you can see the face of a real manager.
Ball 2, just off the corner. Uribe very patiently would not bite for that one. 2 balls and 1 strike. What could be a better night for a manager than to lead 10-2? There's Bathe on deck. To be ahead 10-2 and have Dwight Gooden on the mound for you.
Exactly.
Mail it in from there, but it hasn't worked out that way. The 2-1 pitch. Up the middle. It's a base hit. Here comes Mitchell around third. Here comes Boston's throw. And he is safe. Over to third base goes Thompson. It is 10-8 from the base hit by Uribe.
There's Bud Harrelson trying to figure this thing out. Alejandro Pena came in, got the first 2 hitters. Now he's given up 2 consecutive base hits and allowed 2 runs. The throw comes in. Boston has a shot at Mitchell. What happens is the catcher, Mercado, has to back up to get it on the big hop, and in doing so, Mitchell is across the plate before he can make the tag. Mitchell slides in. You can see he hits the plate right there before Mercado can make the tag.
Not a bad looking throw by Boston.
You know, the trouble with all this, and you hate to criticize a guy, but Jose Uribe should be at second base. If there's a shot at the guy at the plate, you have to go ahead and go to second base on the play.
Well, that's particularly telling because he is the possible tying run. Yeah.
Exactly. So his job was to go to second base on the play.
Now Thompson made it to third base.
Exactly. But like I say, you know, the guy got a base hit, so you give him a plus there, but you give him a minus. But not realizing that he is the tying run, and the throw going to the plate like that, you have to get into scoring position.
And if Bave gets a single, you really give him a minus.
Right.
Here's Bill Bave. Catcher, swings a pretty good bat. He has a pinch hit home run this year, and you may remember last October in the World Series he hit a pinch hit homer against Gene Nelson of Oakland. 10-8 the score. Ball 1 in the dirt. Uribe will hold out at first as Mercado quickly recovered. Wow.
Palms are starting to sweat a little bit now, John.
10-8. The Mets with that great pitching. Where is it? This is a ball game neither club can afford to lose, and it's being played that way. Both ball clubs are storming the gates here. That's Wally Whitehurst up in the bullpen. He's ready if needed.
He's been throwing for an hour. This inning's been going on that long.
Tried the breaking ball, and now it is 2-0. Brett Butler, the leadoff man, would be next. Thompson at third, Uribe at first. Uribe, the possible tying run of the game. Just looking down at the Giants bullpen, Bedrosian warming up, and he just now stumbled off the mound. Looks like he's okay. He's up again. There's Butler on deck. You see Bedrosian in the background warming up. 2-0 the count. Popped him up. Tough play. And they won't make it. Torvey having to deal with the candlestick win. Strawberry and Jeffries also came over. And Jeffries very upset about it.
Well, there's nothing anyone can do. The ball went up about 10 feet to foul, and the wind pushed it not only farther foul, but down the right field line. See, he was going to his right, and now he has to turn and go down the line to try to catch up with it.
So that wind tonight, the candlestick wind, at the moment is an ill wind as far as the Mets are concerned. Keeping Bathe up there at the plate. 10-8, the Mets are ahead. But this is a lead where it almost seems like they're trying to come from behind. Back-to-back, 2-out RBI singles by Thompson and Uribe to deliver runs here. And Bathe is trying to deliver yet another one. It's 2 balls and 1 strike. And Jeffries will have no trouble with this one. He gets the force against Uribe. And the inning is over. 2 more for the Giants. They have scored 6 in the last 2 innings. 4 hits, and Candlestick on its feet. We'll be back. Here's a bunt attempt by Jeffries. It'll be caught by Bedrosian, the new pitcher, and on 1 pitch, there is 1 out. Jeffries popping the bunt up right back to Steve Bedrosian. Bedrosian, who has had a very poor season. He got his first save since the month of May, though, on Friday night. And his parents are out from Massachusetts, from the Boston area. He said his dad gave him a talking to when he got out here, and he said that was inspirational for him.
Very good.
And he said that's long been the case with he and his father.
Well, you know, his son Cody has been ill all year, and that has to have an effect, you know, on a father. You just can't separate the family from the ballpark all the time.
I don't know how he's done it.
Right. It's been very tough, but you know, he's a tough competitor, and the Giants need him the rest of the way if they're going to make any kind of run at the Reds.
And the man who's been the closer, Brantley, is hurting. Change up high to Darryl Strawberry. 2-0 to Darryl, who is 2 for 4. There's John Franco, the man that Joe Morgan's been talking about, and now he is warming up. It looks like we'll see him in the last half of this inning. Fouled back by Strawberry. 2-2 the count. 10-8 is the score. The Mets lead the Giants. It was 10-2 going to the last of the 6th inning. Final score from Texas. The Chicago White Sox get a big victory at Arlington Stadium, 4-2. Just now ready to head home to Comiskey Park and a date with the Oakland Athletics. And you'll be able to see the final game of that series Wednesday night at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN. I misspoke, by the way. It is now 2-2 to Strawberry. Ball 3. On deck is Johnson.
Interesting story reported out in New York said that Frank Cashin, you know, said that Darryl Strawberry was not worth $5 million to New York Mets. Someone asked him, what if someone else pays him that if he goes someplace else? He said maybe he's worth that to someone else, but not here in New York.
He struck him out with the off-speed delivery. Well, everybody loves Bedrosian now.
Well, Darryl Strawberry has a long swing, so if you can get the ball on the inside part of the plate, you can get him out. And that's a good fastball on the inside part, and got him.
Here's Howard Johnson. He has grounded to second. He's walked, doubled, and singled. He's scored twice, 2 for 3. He drove in 3 runs here yesterday. 10-8, the Mets lead the Giants. Steve Bedrosian. His ERA this year, 5.10. He has 8 saves, 5 wins. They picked him up for the stretch run last year from Philadelphia. Now time is taken, and Mets trainer will come out and have a look at Hojo. Get something in his eye.
Well, I think he has contacts on as well. And then they be drying up.
It's Bob Sykes, the assistant trainer, out to have a look. Steve Garland is the Mets head trainer. Coming up next, Sports Center. Don't go anywhere. All of the day's highlights. A lot of interesting things happen in baseball today, in the pennant races. An NFL preview then, featuring the Los Angeles Raiders, and then a conversation with Carlton Fisk on this, the week in which he made baseball history. Here's Hojo. Ball one.
You sure that's the Los Angeles Raiders?
Are they sure?
Yeah. I think they had it typed up right there on the page. The Raiders.
The California Raiders. It's a little bit low, ball two. The paid attendance 33,251 on a Sunday afternoon into the evening at Candlestick. Almost 37,000 in the ballpark. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Outside, ball three. This ball game has been like an NBA ball game, Joe. A couple of three-pointers and the Giants get right back into it.
I think Roger Craig is looking on. He did not want Bedrosian to challenge Johnson with that fastball 2-0, I don't believe.
And he walks him. The ball back to the screen, but Hojo will trot the way to first base, and that'll bring up the man who's been the big man for the Mets tonight, Kevin McReynolds. 6 RBIs for McReynolds. 2 home runs. And a walk. 3 for 3. What's the biggest day you ever had for driving in runs?
Well, I had 7 in 2 innings once. I had a 3-run homer in the first and a grand slam in the second, and Sparky took me out of the game. So that's the most I ever had in 2 innings.
Sparky, what he feared for what might happen to you your next at bat.
You have to remember, a few years ago, guys that hit 2 home runs in a row, sometimes they got hit. But by then the score was like 12-0 or 12-1, so he took me out of the ball game. I've still never forgiven him for that.
It may have saved your life.
Yeah.
Saw Eddie Murray about 5 years ago in Anaheim. He had 3 homers and 9 RBIs by the 5th inning in the ball game.
Did he stay in?
They kept him in there, and he hit one to the warning track his next time up, and then he walked in the 9th inning. Saw Freddie Patek hit 3 home runs in a game once. Kept him in there, Joe.
Little Freddie. Huh?
Little Freddie.
I can say that about Freddie.
And McReynolds looks at a strike. 2 down, man aboard in the 8th inning. 10-8, the Mets are ahead. Patek hit 3 homers in a game and came up in the 9th inning with a chance for a 4th, and they were chanting his name at Fenway Park. The Angels, he was playing for the Angels then. They won that game 20-2. Outside with a slider, 1 ball, 1 strike. These things will happen sometimes in baseball. Freddie Patek, 3 homers. That might have been about, what, a third of his career total. He didn't hit many. Candlestick Park, the House of Thrills tonight on the shores of San Francisco Bay. 10-8 the score. The Mets lead the Giants. Next week, we should have some more fireworks from Tiger Stadium in Detroit, that venerable old home run palace. Fielder, Canseco, McGuire will all be there. The runner goes. The ball is driven to deep. No, not that deep. The wind holding it up besides, and Butler's got it. And they even get McReynolds now. They've turned everything around. Top of the order coming up. Butler, Litton, and Clark, and we're going to see John Franco. We'll be back. Comes down to try. He'll try and take care of Dwight and the Mets as they go to Franco. He's got 2 innings now. He's got the top of the order here. He's had a great year. But these guys don't often go 2 innings.
No, I think what Bud Harrelson is telling his team here is this is a very, very, very important game to us, and we're going to win it at all costs. So he's bringing in John Franco at least 2 outs earlier than he would like. He wanted to try to get him just to pitch the 9th inning, but a second choice would have been if he could have sent Alejandro Pena out there to get a couple outs in the 8th and then bring on Franco, but he does not want to risk the Giants catching up, because this could be a devastating loss to a team in the pennant race if they were to come back from this 10-2 deficit and beat the Mets.
Top of the order for the Giants. Brett Butler, the hitter. Foul ball. Nobody will be able to get to this one. It's in amongst the spectators. 1-1. Butler tonight. He's been the perfect leadoff man. He's had a walk and 2 singles. Stolen a base. Been on base 3 times in 4 appearances. Not done much against Franco in the past. Franco leads the National League in saves with 27. That's foul.
John Franco has a good fastball. He can move it in and out, and he throws a good hard slider. Those are the 2 pitches that he uses most of the time. Every once in a while he will sink the ball if he needs a double play ground ball. So he has a lot in his repertoire. He can do exactly what a stopper's supposed to do. He can get a ground ball for the double play. He can strike you out, and he can pop you up. Just very fine stopper for the Mets.
Mets have not been able to stop the Giants since the 6th inning. 4 runs in the 6th, 2 more in the 7th to make it 10-8. There have been 18 runs and 25 hits in this game. Right back to Franco, and that's a big out. As Butler has been getting on base all night, is retired here, and the batter will be Litton. And after Litton, then you've got Will Clark and the big guys. They might get a couple people on with those guys coming up.
But I think the key is Litton and Will Clark. One of these 2 guys have to get on so that Kevin Mitchell and Matt Williams will be able to hit with someone on base. You do not want your big guys hitting with no one on base and a 2-run deficit, because you can't hit a 2-run homer anyway. So you need someone on base. So these next 2 guys are very important.
Strike 1. Franco's well rested to go 2 innings. He has not pitched. It's Thursday. He got a save against the Dodgers at Shea Stadium with 2/3 of an inning of work. And to chase that sinker. 0-2. This game has been a lot like that 1989 World Series for the Giants. Starters got pounded, as they did by Oakland last October. Magadan throws him out, and Clark will bat with 2 down and nobody on.
You know, watching Magadan play third base, the thing I'm most impressed with is his arm. He's got a quick release, and it's very strong and accurate arm. I mean, the play he made earlier on Mitchell, barehanding that ball and flipping it, it really didn't look like a flip. It looked like a strong throw, and he got rid of it very quickly. And he looks like he could be a very good third baseman.
Well, when he came up and they had Keith Hernandez winning Gold Gloves over at first base, that's usually where Magadan played when he played. He was over at third base. Will Clark 1 for 3 with a walk. Ball 1. Clark 3 hits in 13 at-bats against Franco, although overall against lefties this year he has really done well. It's the right-handers who've confounded him, it looks like. 2 down, nobody on. Ball 2. This is where you wonder over the American League, the Red Sox, how are they going to be able to stay where they are without that big closer? Jeff Reardon on the disabled list for the year. There it is, right to the first baseman Torve, and he's got it. Kelvin Torve it is. And the Giants go down in order for the first time in this entire game. We go to the 9th. 10-8 Mets. John Miller and Joe Morgan with you. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. A wild one from Candlestick Park. The Mets 10, the Giants 8. As Kelvin Torve leads it off against Steve Bedrosian, and there is ball 1. 1 ball to no strikes. Again, earlier today, the Pirates defeated the Reds again. And so the Mets need a win here to remain 2 games back of Pittsburgh. And of course, the Giants with a win would move to within 6.5 of Cincinnati. Got a ways to go to catch up. There's out number 1. Torve is 0 for 4 with a walk in this game. And due up now is the pitcher, John Franco.
And he will hit.
John Franco is in there for the duration.
Yes, he is.
Well, the Montreal Expos come in here beginning tomorrow. The Giants and the Expos. The Expos gave the Dodgers a lot of trouble this weekend. The Dodgers had a great opportunity to really move up close, but The Expos knocked them off a couple of times.
Well, the Expos have not given up hope either. They've fallen out of the race and then gotten back in. Now they feel like they just have to continue to play well.
That's a strike on the outside. Mercado, the catcher, is on deck. Red Sox and Blue Jays tied in the American League East, and Oakland losing a game off its lead today. After the ball game, right after the game, all of the details of all of those games and the highlights will be seen on SportsCenter. Next Sunday we'll be at Tiger Stadium in Detroit. Sunday night cameras get a look at Cecil Fielder. Uribe throws out John Franco. 2 men gone in the 9th inning. Candlestick Park. Been here a long time. Much maligned ballpark. Back in the 60s when this park first opened, the Giants were right behind the Dodgers as the best drawing team in the majors for a number of years. The Giants were the talk of the town for all of those years. It's foul right back just to our left here. Candlestick hits our camera. Wow.
Well, we got a souvenir.
There it is. Fans wanted to toss that ball down. He did. He's a hero. Here's the 1-strike delivery. Hey, back to work over there. 0-2 the count to Mercado. It was a nice catch by a cameraman over there. Caught it right with his $150,000 lens. It's Bill Moore, the cameraman over there. Is that the same camera Canseco hit with that grand slam? The World Series in '88. The pitch is high for a ball. 1-2. 10-8. The Mets ahead in the 9th inning. Brett Butler will get to this one at deep right center. And that is the inning. So 2 very strong innings by Bedrosian again. The Giants trailing 10-8, and they've got Mitchell, Williams, and Carter due up in the last of the 9th inning to try and get it going here. We'll see what happens. Franco with an easy 8th inning. Coming up next, SportsCenter night.
I think the key guy for John Franco here is Kevin Mitchell. If you can keep Kevin off base, Matt Williams can't really hurt you.
Matt Williams will follow Mitchell. If Mitchell gets on, Williams would have a chance to tie this game. Swing and a miss. Turn that one over. Mitchell has lined to third, walked, lined to center, and beaten out an infield single. He scored 2 runs. He's hitting .300. 10-8. The Mets are ahead. In the dirt with a sinker. 1 ball, 1 strike. They've gone through Gooden, 5 1/3, 6 runs allowed, 5 walks. Bobby Ojeda, 2/3. He gave up 2 runs. Really victimized, though. Pop fly that fell and an infield hit, and then both of those runs scored after he was out of the game. Pena 1 inning, no runs, but 2 hits. And now Franco into his 2nd inning. He retired the side in order in the 8th, much to the relief of that man, Bud Harrelson. Ball 2, 2-1. The outfield is extremely deep for Mitchell. Everybody backed up all the way around. Mac Reynolds in left, Boston in center, Strawberry in right. The 2-1 pitch. Ball 3.
And this is definitely what they wanted to guard against, is putting Mitchell on via a walk.
Hit deep into left center field. It has a chance, and gone! A home run. Number 27 for Mitchell. And now Matt Williams will have a chance to do some damage. 10-9.
It's really not that bad a pitch from Franco. The ball is down a little bit, but Mitchell really drives it well in the left center field. Watch, you see the McCardle giving a low target, and it is a low pitch, but it doesn't stay low very long. He just drives it right out over the left center field wall, way over.
Now Matt Williams, who homered yesterday, who homered Friday. 1-1. He helped Franco out on that one.
Well, I think the thing you have to realize, he just gave up a home run on a fastball to Kevin Mitchell. He's not going to give you the same pitch.
Williams has a single and a double and a walk tonight, but he struck out in the 7th. 24 homers. Little tap. Could be trouble. It goes foul. And Mercado flipped it over to Franco, and Franco wasn't quite ready for it there. He survived it. It's 0-2 to Matt Williams. Kevin Mitchell, been a while between home runs for him, but now Bonilla hit number 28 today for Pittsburgh. Sandberg's got 28, and now Mitchell and Strawberry with 27 in that home run race, top the National League.
Well, the one thing that Mitchell did, he was very patient against Franco. He made sure he got a pitch to hit. He took the count all the way to 3-1, and then he got a fastball and hit it out. What Matt Williams has done is just the opposite. He has chased the first pitch outside, and then he swung at the next one, which was in the dirt. So he is now at the mercy of John Franco, and if Franco doesn't make a mistake, he's not going to get a pitch that he can drive.
0-2. Yeah, he threw that sinker in the dirt.
Well, he's going to throw a couple more out of the strike zone, too. He's going to try to get Matt Williams to chase something. He'll make it a little better each time until he gets Matt Williams to swing.